Kid, mind if I take a swig of milk?
Knock yourself out.
Ulcers. All I do these days is drink fucking milk.
My heart bleeds.
Yeah, well, so do my ulcers, you punk bastard. What the goddamn hell's this about? There's easier ways to commit suicide, you
There's
know.
a dead man downstairs who found a harder way.
Louis? If you killed Louis, so help me.
Campagna's okay. He'll have a headache to make a hangover seem like Christmas, but he's okay. Fatso, too.
Then who?
A blonde guy. I don't know his name, but I've seen him around.
Have you?
Last time was at Bayfront Park when you sent him to help kill Cermak. Time before that, I saw him running down Randolph Street when Capone sent him to kill Jake Lingle. And tonight, you sent him to kill Nate Heller. But he didn't quite get the job done, did he?
You're wrong on that last count, kid. Dead wrong.
Then you sent that son of a bitch to Florida just to catch some sun?
I didn't say I didn't send him to Florida. What I do say is I didn't send him to kill you.
He pushed me off a skyride tower tonight, Frank. And you know I really don't like heights. I should be a twisted sack of bones and meat on a morgue tray about now, but somehow I'm not. I'm here. He's dead, and so are you. So are you, Nitty. I wish to Christ Lang had killed you that afternoon. I wish to Christ I didn't make them call an ambulance for you.
Heller, I didn't send him. I didn't even know the bastard was in town. He doesn't work for me.
He doesn't work for anybody now.
Something you aren't at all aware of. Why am I not already dead?
The silenced automatic in my hand raised to aim itself at his forehead.
You are dead. Fuck you.
Wait, just wait. Lower that goddamn thing, will you? Just hear me out. I didn't say he never done work for me. He's a guy Johnny Torrillo recommended to Al back on the Lingle deal. I used him later myself. Used him now and then on ticklish matters.
Oh, is that what I am? A ticklish matter?
Kid, I know how you feel. I know the kind of emotions you got running wild in you. I know all there is to know about revenge. You could ask 10% Tony if he wasn't in hell. But I didn't hire a contract on you. I swear by all that's holy.
And I'm supposed to believe that because of all the Catholic shit on the walls? Who sent him then, Frank?
I don't know the answer to that. Not for sure. But I can figure it out, and so can you, if you try.
I was getting confused, starting to wonder what the hell I was doing.
Although edited for television, tonight's thriller contains scenes of suspense and violence which may be unsuitable for young viewers. Parental discretion is advised.
Hey, let's get media. Nope, let's get physical media? Okay, that's a funny name. Okay, I'm Breck. I directed The Crazies, and I'm really excited that we're coming to physical media with a new HDR transfer this spring. Check it out. All right. Hey, let's get physical media. I'm so glad there are fans of actually buying DVDs out there. I'm really excited that Crazies will be coming with a new HDR transfer to physical media. To 4K and HDR, ready to show you guys, so check it out. That was terrible. Hey, let's get physical media. So happy that there are fans of The Crazies out there and fans that are gonna buy the physical disc. We're doing a new HDR transfer, which I'm thrilled to be putting out there, and I hope you guys will check it out.
Well, greetings, Imagination Connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun, blah, blah, blah. I'm your pharaoh of physical media. That's all that matters on this show. I am Robert Meyer Burnett, and I'm coming at you with Let's Get Physical Media, episode number 203. But you know what happened this week? Dieter Bastian has abandoned you. I don't get to talk about Saarbrücken. I don't get to talk about any of that. But I've dug deep. I found somebody who's actually in the news section today with work they've done on an upcoming release on physical media. A lot of people would argue, why would you possibly release this on physical media? But this man has a great defense. You know him, you love him. He's the only person in the world whose wife loves him more than she loves Dieter Bastian. And that is, of course, Mr. Max ALLAN COLLINS. Max, welcome to Let's Get Physical Media. You're on for the whole show. We've got you all day long. How you doing?
Well, it's going to be a treat for me. I don't know about for anybody else. Now, I don't pretend I could substitute for Dieter. He's you guys are a great combination. It's funny, it's charismatic, but you guys are stuck with me today.
As Valeris said in Star Trek VI, no one could ever replace Dieter; they could only succeed him. So, and you're a flavor all unto yourself. I've been saying I'm not everyone's jar of jam, but you, sir, you service all the jars of jam. I mean, you've done so many things in your life. You've written comics for DC. You've written comics for yourself. You have a comic book that's gone to multiple publishers. It's been published over decades with Miss Tree. You've done it all. You wrote the Dick Tracy movie novelization after writing the Dick Tracy comic strip for 15 years. Who else can say that? You made a movie with Paul Newman, Tom Hanks, Jude Law, Daniel Craig, all in one movie. Tyler Hoechlin. And it would have had Anthony LaPaglia in it, but he was cut out. That's why we got him for True Noir, the assassination of Anton Cermak that you wrote, which is kind of a sequel to Road to Perdition.
Well, that was a while ago that I wrote that. Can you remind me about where people wanted to get it, or any of that kind of stuff?
You mean True Noir, the audio drama? You can go to truenoir.co right now, and you can order all 10 episodes, and you can get them in either 2-channel stereo or 5.1. The physical media of it is in process, as is the soundtrack album and the script book and all that stuff. It's coming up, but we don't want to be self-serving on this show, do we, Max?
Sure we do.
Oh, great. Well, Max Allan Collins wrote all 10 episodes, and we co-produced and I directed. So there you go. Go get it. We don't just talk about physical media. We make physical media. All kinds. As a matter of fact, you have a new movie out.
I do. It's actually kind of making a few of the festivals right now. We're still getting ready to take it out to distributors, but we just got into a festival called the Star City Festival. You're going to be very impressed because it's in a little town in Iowa, even smaller than my town. And first of all, the impressive thing is my little movie, Death by Fruitcake, is one of 34 movies being shown. And we have the Saturday night spot, the key spot. Now, here's the part that may not impress you. It's part of Corn Days.
I like corn.
Yes, I serve quite a bit of it up myself. That's a specialty.
Okay, Bax, I'll bite. What are Corn Days?
I have no idea. They just invited me. I'm going to be the special guest. I have this image of me with my head in people throwing corn cobs at me. But we'll see. I'm delighted.
As long as they're not coming out of an outhouse when they're doing it.
That's true. I may be operating out of an outhouse, but I'm really thrilled. We only took it out to a handful of festivals, basically in Iowa, so that we could get there and be part of it, not just because there's probably, how many festivals are there? A couple hundred.
So many.
And so I sending it out someplace out of state for us. I think I sent it one place, and so I'm okay with being a big fish in a small pond.
I've felt that my entire life.
Well,
not about you, though.
I tried to work up Dieter's accent, but I just didn't have time. My wife was impressed I was going to be on the show today till she heard that Dieter's not going to be here.
Oh, well, that's because, I can't imagine how your wife is left tingling when both of you are on the show together and she hears the interplay between your two dulcet tones.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to when I made my wife tingle last. It's been a while.
I know. It was on your anniversary.
Well, yeah, we did have an anniversary.
There was some tingling going on. I could feel it from here.
Well, we celebrated Father's Day last week,
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, but there's kids involved. You got grandsons. You got sons. By the way, I got to tell you a funny story. So I have a friend named Terrier that I've known for almost 20 years. And Terrier, he lives in Norway. He has been online dating. He met a girl from Iowa who knows your son and says she has watched movies in your basement.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, my son is an impressive guy. His name is Nathan Collins, He's named after Nathan Heller, who's the lead character in True Noir,
The Assassination of Anton Cermak.
Yes.
Also the lead character in the upcoming feature film, True Noir, Dying in the Post-War World, that you have written and that I will be directing. Right?
That's the plan. That is the plan. But I will say this about my son, Nathan. He is a translator of Japanese to English, which I think you know.
Yes.
My books are translated into English as well. And it's a requirement. But right now it's doing one of the most popular of the manga out there. It's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Wow.
And he does a lot of stuff. He's done everything from, going to the Comic-Con and being a translator there for somebody who's on a panel, to comic books, manga, to novels, and he has a real fascination for Japanese culture. And it's my fault because when he was way too young, I showed him the Lone Wolf and Cub movies.
You're never too young for those.
Well, yesterday I showed my grandson, who's just about to be 10, the first Indiana Jones movie.
You mean Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Yes, and because I did warn him, I said, there's some bad things going to happen to Nazis in this. He said, that's okay with me.
Did he like it?
He did. He loved it. Now,
you didn't celebrate the 50th anniversary weekend of Jaws, which is happening this weekend, and showing Jaws?
I thought about it. I've been working with some of the horror stuff. I showed him Them with the giant ants last week, and the original Thing.
That's good.
This kid is going to get, as long as I'm on the planet, is going to get a good grounding. Well, my son is great too. I mean, they look at all kinds of stuff together, and I think it's, you're the one who made the point that you have to learn how to watch a movie.
Yes.
There's a lot of people out there now that haven't got the slightest idea how to watch a movie.
No, and it truly is just like reading. You can learn how to read words, but that doesn't make you literate. And anybody can watch a movie, but if you don't understand the mechanics of storytelling, and you're not aware of that, you won't get into it. I don't know what that word is. You won't comprehend it.
Right.
You won't understand you have to understand foreshadowing, characterization, and the thing is, I think one of the problems that I find, especially nowadays, is most people, I shouldn't say most people, but let's call it younger people, who they've only watched recent films. And recent films tend to be, especially the ones they're watching, these more mainstream, they're all kind of the same in terms of the way they present information. So if you try and get somebody to go back and watch like The 400 Blows or the original Breathless or any Italian neorealist film or the French New Wave, people can't, they can't, their brains don't allow them. They're watching images, but they don't know what they're supposed to do with those images. Mm-hmm. So it creates a level of boredom because they're only used to getting information one way. And I think the same thing is true. I'll talk about it a little later, but I watched a movie this week that even big mainstream, big release, probably the best release of the week, but I even had a hard time with an extended opening scene that was set in a room that was mostly shot in masters. And I had to stop myself, calm myself down, and just allow it to happen because I'd never seen this movie before, and I was so dazzled by the presentation of it, so I was able to do that. But I was very cognizant of the fact that if I were to show this particular movie to just anybody, they probably would have been very bored by not the opening scene, but the scenes right afterwards, because they worked on a different, in a way that we don't see today.
Well, if you go back to the very beginning of a film, like when they show a train before there was any editing, and they show a train coming at the audience.
Yeah,
the audience were like, "Whoa, I'm out of here! There's a train!" And then and they really had to work to get people to understand editing. I mean, that was a brand new
yeah.
part of the art form. And now now it's the opposite, where they're used to incredibly fast editing and can get bored really, really quickly. But I think it's the responsibility of somebody who takes a movie in to both process it and take the ride. I've heard you say any number of times that you're rooting for every movie you see.
Of course.
And I think that's not going in like, this Superman movie is going to be terrible. Well, I would guess it's going to be terrible for you. I had this experience over the years with my books. I had to kind of come to terms with this, where somebody would tell me they didn't like the book, or someone would tell me it's the best book I ever read, or like, that was okay. And those are all valid responses.
Sure.
And the reason why is a book, even more than a movie, a novel, is my stuff, plus the reader.
Yep.
And so sometimes I'm playing Broadway, and sometimes I'm playing, the podunk playhouse. I'm not always going to have a reader who's really up to bringing to it. And then there's the fairness of it just doesn't click with them because of the different experiences we all have. I mean, what really resonates with us is the things that touches something in our memory and makes a little spark go off.
Yeah. Well, to that effect, shall we delve into what was turning people on at the theatrical box office?
Sure.
I know Dieter would like to hear this. Obviously, 28 years later, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland's third part of their 28 trilogy, which is going to be a quadrilogy in January when The Bone Temple comes out, but did pretty well. It opened with $30 million this weekend. This is the domestic box office coming to us from Anthony D'Alessandro. And let me get down to the numbers here. Wow, this is a very long article. Okay, so number one at the box office for a second week in a row, How to Train Your Dragon, which I think is well-deserved. It made $37 million this weekend, down 58%, for a domestic total of $160.4 million. 28 years later, coming in at number two, it made $30 million this weekend. Elio is the lowest Pixar opening ever. Theatrical opening ever at $21 million, which is unfortunate. Number four is Lilo and Stitch with another almost $10 million into the coffers, only down 38% from last week for a domestic cum of $386.7 million. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, hanging in there. That it only dropped 33% this week, is up with a domestic total of $178.3 million. The Materialists put in another $5.8 million into its coffers, down only 49% at $23.9 million. Number seven, Ballerina, for a domestic total of $51.1 million. Number eight, Karate Kid Legends, hanging in there, almost making $50 million. Its total is $49.3 million. Final Destination Bloodline, still making money. The webpage was using significant memory, and it just disappeared on me. I hate when it does that. But I guess I have to go back and figure it out. Hang on. That was not good.
I love that movie, by the way, The Final Destination.
Oh, it's hilarious. You know, they put the opening, the Seattle Space Needle opening, which always cracks me up because it doesn't look anything like the real Space Needle. But, that's okay. I mean, I understand. It's a great opening scene. It's so much fun. It's so mean-spirited. I love it. So Final Destination Bloodlines is number 9 and it's made $134.8 million, which they must love. And then a movie called Kubera, and that is I think that's from India, or it could be, well, it's India, but I don't know if it's in Hindi or, I guess it's all, there's Telugu, Hindi, Malay, Kannada, and Tamil prints. So 1.75 million. So there you go for the domestic box office. But now let's see how these movies are doing internationally. 28 years later has made a total of 60 million globally, which is great for a movie that has a reported production budget of 75 million, especially coming, almost 20 years after the last film. So that's pretty amazing. Lilo and Stitch is now up to 910.3 million globally, which is crazy. Materialists has made 31.4 million globally. Karate Kid's Legends has made 98.3 million global. Final Destination Bloodline is up to 280.1 million global. The Phoenician Scheme, which isn't even on the top 10 here, I don't know if it's because it only opened in a few theaters, is at 32 million global. And Sinners, they must love this at Warner Brothers, has made 363.8 million globally. So there you go. There's all the box office news fit to print, Max.
I've got to love seeing Sinners do that well.
Me too.
Great movie, great period piece. Always like it when a period piece comes to the fore like that.
And now you're going to have to write a story where Smoke and Stack work for Al Capone. We need to see. They refer to it, but we need to know what happened there.
There's a prequel happening there.
Yeah.
I really love that, and I'm looking forward. You can order it for physical media right now.
Yeah, and got to get that steelbook.
I don't collect steelbooks. I don't collect steelbooks.
Or Warner Brothers might do a box set in the UK. I don't know. Because I'm getting that 75th anniversary Sunset Boulevard box set from the UK. Got to have that. Got to catch them all. So, Max, you said you wanted to talk some physical media this week.
Yeah.
I think that I would like to start, if I may,
sure,
with something. So, one of the big releases that we've had in the last, year was Warner Archive finally transitioning to 4K, and they released The Searchers. What did you think of that disc?
I loved it. I loved it very much. I actually bought a new 4K player because of it, because I had one that was a number of years old that would freeze.
Oh.
And so I had to upgrade, and I've always loved that movie. We were on vacation when I was a little kid. Probably, I would have been, I think, 6 years old at the most. And I made my parents on a vacation take me to The Searchers at a drive-in. and it made a big impression on me then, and it always has. I think it's easily in the top 10 greatest movies ever made.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But the Warner Archive presentation of the disc,
excellent,
is I mean, it's one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen. George Feltenstein over there at Warner, I mean, like I say, they should make him the film czar of the world. Yeah. But he goes out of his way to make sure he gets encoding done from Fidelity in Motion. The bit rates are incredibly high. So, I was really eager. When I saw it, I was blown away by it. I talked about it. I said it was one of the releases of the year, obviously, of last year. So I was really curious, what is Warner Archive going to follow that up with? And they chose to follow it up with 1956's High Society.
I haven't got mine yet.
And I would like to point out that I did get a review copy. There is a slipcase for it. I did not get a slipcase for my review copy. But so this is based on the same play that the Katharine Hepburn movie, The Philadelphia Story, is based on. Yes. So it's a musical. Now, I got to tell you, I'd never seen this movie before. And I'd heard of it. I knew it. It came out on Laserdisc, but I hadn't seen it. But it stars Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, and Grace Kelly. And I have to tell you, I had the same, when I put this in, it starts with an overture of great music. Cole Porter songs. Louis Armstrong and his band. Louis Armstrong is in this movie, is part of the cast. And again, the quality of this disc, it has an Atmos soundtrack. It was remixed for Atmos. And when this first came out, anyway, I watched this and I was so blown away by the presentation of this film. And I quite enjoyed the movie. It's again, it was what I was talking about earlier. There's this really long scene. I had to the movie opens with Louis Armstrong in the back of this bus. He's in his bus, his touring bus with his orchestra, and they sing a song. And it opens with Louis Armstrong singing and his band playing. It was just a banger way to open up the movie. And then the bus arrives at this very, very beautiful mansion in Newport. Was that Rhode Island? And Bing Crosby plays he's a crooner, he's a jazz musician, he's become very famous, but in the circles he's famous in, he's kind of looked down upon because the music that he is it's not classical music, it's jazz, and then you meet him and you meet the whole socialite, and his ex-wife is Grace Kelly, and she's getting remarried, and the press is going to come up, and you have Celeste Holm from All About Eve and Frank Sinatra show up, and Celeste Holm is playing the absolute opposite. She's kind of like a news broad. She's the photographer for Frank Sinatra's reporter, and I was totally enchanted by this movie, but the quality of it is unbelievable. The musical numbers are great. There's a couple of very classic, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that people know that song is in here, and there's so many great songs, but the sound quality was unbelievable. The picture quality is second to none. And, to have, this is coming out from a major studio, but you have with George Feltenstein, and you have with the approach that Warner Archive is taking to their own and MGM's catalog. This is an MGM movie shot in VistaVision. So it's a Technicolor VistaVision movie. So it is you want to lick the screen. It looks so good, because if you could eat what this looks like, it would taste delicious. And the thing is, George Feltenstein approaches at a major studio, approaches Warner Archive's output like a boutique label, and to have a boutique label within a major studio like Warner Brothers. So I had to call George. I called him up and I was like, bro. Well, I didn't say bro. I waxed rhapsodic about, again, how great this is. And he told me the story of the whole development of this, about how High Society was originally released in mono, but they had recorded it for stereo. So they had to go back and find the stereo tracks, when they put it out on Laserdisc. So this has a really interesting story about how it got into home video that George had been involved with for many, many years. So this is a labor of love for George and everybody at Warner Archive. But this is a stunning disc. Now, you might then ask yourself, did I ask George what their next 4K releases are? And of course I did.
What are they?
No man can say. but nor will I. But I will say this. I did ask George, there's obviously a lot of Warner Brothers catalog titles that we would like to get. And if you've watched this show for any length of time, so I asked George, you've got various, things coming out. You've got, because for instance, George was able to find the negative for The Hitcher. Then they couldn't find, and was able to secure, he didn't really know Second Sight. And I remember last year we were talking about this, and he was able to, so the deal that George made with Second Sight was, I will get you the negative. And they did, Second Sight worked on the negative for The Hitcher for almost a year. They were posting frame grabs. But the deal that George made is that Warner Brothers gets to release their own kind of bare bones version of The Hitcher first. So they were able to do that domestically. But then, Second Sight could do what they do, and we got a great I mean, that transfer is amazing. So George is working with, obviously they work with Criterion all the time. They've been working with Deep Blue Sea and Long Kiss Goodnight came out from Arrow, so Warner Brothers is working with Arrow. George might have mentioned Vinegar Syndrome to me. But he told me, he read me a list of 55 titles.
What was on that list?
I no man can say. But let me just tell you, if I were to explain my reaction to what he read to me, it was kind of like losing your virginity. It kind of felt like that for me. Losing my virginity and Warner Brothers' upcoming list of titles that are all, most of them are going to be in 4K. But wow. And so that's all I'm going to say is I was left shaking and in sweating and I couldn't believe what I heard. Because, again, if you've listened or watched this show for any length of time, everything, with one exception, there was one thing after my jaw was on the ground. I couldn't believe all these things. There's one exception that I asked about, and even George admitted it's strange that we don't have plans for this title because of how well it's always done on home video. And then there's one title, a Warner Brothers title, that for those of you in the know, there's one title I've always asked about, that a lot of people ask about, that might be inching its way to release. But I won't, again, I'm not going to say anything. All I can say is that George Feltenstein made this boy, between this release from Warner Archive, to know what's coming out from Warner Archive with their next 4Ks, and to have heard a list of what Warner Brothers is working on, from who I can't say or where I can't say, but oh my God. George Feltenstein is the fucking man, and Warner Brothers and Warner Archive. Of course, you have to buy everything from the UK to get all that the good covers. But he said the domestic department's doing better. So,
I haven't seen this disc yet. I haven't got this disc yet. I have it ordered. Not to go down a negative path.
Oh, okay. Go be negative Nelly now.
The four people in this movie, Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, and Louis Armstrong. If you consider yourself a film fan and those names don't mean anything to you, you're not a film fan.
Right.
Because Bing Crosby was what? The biggest entertainer of the 20th century?
Yeah.
Arguably. I mean, and Sinatra would have been right. I mean, that's amazing because Sinatra was his rival.
Right.
He kind of toppled Bing Crosby and from the top of the charts, and did so by not really singing a lot like Bing Crosby, even though he's in that tradition. Grace Kelly, I mean,
it was, by the way, it's her last film role before she became Princess Grace of Monaco. This was her last film role. And there's another thing, it's funny. There's a piece of music. It's about what is jazz, basically. And Bing Crosby and Louis Armstrong. It's basically a duet between them and then the band. And Bing Crosby kind of takes you through all the different parts of a jazz orchestra. It's brilliant. I mean, it's a brilliant piece of music, and the way it was set up, and having never seen before. And I was like, I went and looked up the piece of music on YouTube, and there was a rapper who had made a video about a month ago about this particular piece of music, and he was talking about how he couldn't believe it. And he was saying, this was done in 1956, and it's 69 years old. And he was amazed that a major Hollywood production had Louis Armstrong and Bing Crosby as equals on in this big sequence celebrating jazz. I mean, they're embracing one another. This rapper, it's a pretty great analysis, by the way, and I forget his name. I forget his YouTube channel. But it was really interesting watching because we have been sold this bill of goods that we now, like, things today are the worst they've ever been, which is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But when you saw this rapper pointed out, he was making the point, like, what was this like for an audience of 1956 to see? You've got Bing Crosby standing on stage, and of course he was Bing Crosby was the impresario because he's the star of the movie. But he was there in the movie. Louis Armstrong's band are good friends with Bing Crosby's character, and Bing Crosby's character is looked down upon by the members of high society because he loves jazz. And the rapper points out that when they do this number, when you do the reverse and you see the audience clapping at this number, they're all the white upper crust of Newport, and they're there and they're being educated. They're being educated by Louis and they're being educated by Bing, and it was a powerful moment, and to see somebody recognize it today was very cool. Very cool.
Well, and you got Bing Crosby is such a great figure because he really is the guy that invented, modern singing. I mean,
right.
When you go back before him, it's what Al Jolson and Rudy Vallée. And if you're at all familiar with them, as much as I kind of like them both, Rudy Vallée was in How to Succeed with Business Without Really Trying. So that warms my heart right there. But Crosby was the first one that understood how to use a microphone.
Right.
But he didn't have to shout. He didn't have to go through what's the thing that that Rudy Vallée used? The megaphone.
Yeah.
And so he's where it starts. So you go through Bing Crosby to Frank Sinatra to Elvis and then you go all the way up that whole chart. And there's no modern music all starts with him. And then of course it's amazing that he was such a good comedian. I mean,
oh yeah,
watching him and Bob Hope together in the road movies is sublime. And because he's a rat. He plays a rat in those movies.
Yeah.
And Bob Hope is his stooge. And it's just delightful. I knew that when I was a little kid, I'd watch those movies, and I still watch them. And I'm glad that, thank God for physical media.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to get. And Danzig, 1979, asks if George will come on the show, because he's come on the show before. And the thing is now he has to get approved. Because, Warner Brothers, since David Zaslav took over, he can't just come on the show. He has to go through proper channels and ask. And I'm finding this out a lot. Like, if you want to talk to studio people, you have to go through. Sometimes people use it as an excuse, but I know that George watches the show every week and he wants to come on the show. And again, I think we're kind of in... The next 3 or 4 years is going to, I think, be sort of the last hurrah of physical media, even though it is increasing in popularity as people discover it again. But what was really interesting to me is it was the titles that George told me about are all titles people want. And there was one title that it's a movie that I particularly love that I wouldn't have thought. It's out on Blu-ray from Warner Brothers, but it's not a good Blu-ray, and I particularly love the movie. Not a lot of people love it nearly as much as I do, but I was surprised it was on that list to get a 4K remaster, and I'm like, wow. Yeah, I got really excited about that. Nobody else will be as excited as I am, but they're really going to be servicing, and now with these boutique labels, I think that the studios, because the people that are working at the studios don't know their own catalogs. So it's the boutique labels that know. And we'll talk about, in LA, Vinegar Syndrome is having a pop-up this week, starting tomorrow. And they're showing films, and they're having a pop-up somewhere downtown LA. So I think I might go down tomorrow night or Tuesday night, because they're having a Breathless pop-up. And the director, Jim McBride, the director of Richard Gere's Breathless, is going to speak. And I forgot to buy their version of Breathless because I want to pick it up. But so that's pretty cool. And to have all these boutique labels, I mean, whether it's Cinematograph or Vinegar Syndrome or Kino Lorber, I mean, the Paramount library is being totally exploited, which is great. And the Warner Brothers library is going to be exploited just the same way, and we're going to be getting some really, really great stuff. So I'm I am so excited. Of that list of 55, I think I'm going to buy 52 of them.
Well, I have, again, this is, if George watches this, I want to speak right to him. George, you need a dedicated site to Warner Archive. I have to chase it. You announce it, and I chase it here, I chase it there. Amazon really sucks in terms of trying to get to the Warner Archive titles. And they are my favorite titles that are being issued now. I'll bet you I'll buy the same disc that Rob is talking about buying.
Yeah.
So don't make it hard for me to spend my money. I mean, maybe you've been talking to my wife, and maybe that's why you still. Let's make him work a little bit to be able to figure out how to spend his money.
Yeah. Well, Max, that begs the question: what did you spend your money on this week?
Well, I had some things arrive. A movie I like very, very much, The Nice Guys, and
now that is our beloved Second Sight.
yes.
This is Second Sight's beautiful box set of The Nice Guys.
Look at that book. I mean, it's a hardcover book about an inch thick.
Yeah,
It's amazing. It's amazing.
and now Warner Brothers did release this kind of a bare bones version of it domestically. But again, this is Second Sight, as we like to say on this show, as I like to say, if Second Sight were a girl, Second Sight would be Farrah Fawcett Majors and Logan's Run. And you can see why. Look at how gorgeous this set is. So, Max, tell us about it.
Well, the movie itself is wonderful. I think it's probably, arguably, the best thing that Shane Black ever did. The only competition would be Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Those two are phenomenal, and they really are rooted in. And I'm kind of pleasantly surprised or amazed by his interview. That's one of the special features on this set. That he really has an affection for the kind of private eye fiction that I grew up on, that made me want to be a private eye writer. And I mean, he talked about people like Richard S. Prather, who did the Shel Scott books, and in particular Brett Halliday, who was the guy who did the Mike Shane novels. Both Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys are basically loose adaptations of those, and give screen credit to the Brett Halliday books. And he talked about reading those kind of what you would call pulp, although pulp was kind of gone by that point because it was the early 50s and into the early 60s. But that kind of fun pulp action really informs The Nice Guys. But the dialogue is so funny, and the plot twists are so unexpected, and the chemistry between Ryan Gosling and what's his name?
Russell Crowe,
Wrestling Around the World, as SCTV used to call him. It's an amazing chemistry because
off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, and he also, as much as he loves the traditional private eye story, he knows that to sell it today, you have to turn it on its head. There has to be something different about it. You can't just come out and do a straight thing. So Ryan Gosling is basically kind of a dope, and he basically minorly swindles money. It starts out with him being willing to look for the husband of an old woman whose the ashes for her husband are on the mantelpiece. And he says, "Yeah, I'll go find him," and then Crow is playing basically a thug, and what is interesting about him is he's a pro. He does not have any attitude he isn't sadistic, and he really hates to see a sadistic thug. There's one that he really reads this guy the riot act before he beats the crap out of him. So The Nice Guys is mistitled, and it's the opposite.
Right.
They're not nice, and they are not. I know that Shane Black is known for buddy pictures, but it takes a long time for them to come together as buddies. They're adversaries for probably a good third of the movie. And I just think it's a terrific movie. It's, again, the only other movie I can think of this good in this vein is Shane Black's Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And I would put this This is on the short list of my best private eye novels or best private eye movies of all time. It would easily be on my top 10, maybe
Wow.
pretty high up. I think it's just terrific. It didn't apparently do terribly well at the box office.
No.
But it has a cult following, and this presentation of it is, I just think, amazing. I love it when there's a book, because I read the books.
Yeah, I do too. And Second
you know,
Sight's books are really, really good.
well, they're handsome. Now, I try to be very picky. I don't. If I just kind of like a movie, I'm not going to buy a box set and spend a bunch of money. I have to like the movie. Don't have to love it, but I have to really like it. And so this I jumped on just immediately, no question. That's good, you know. And we won't mention to my wife that I already owned it on another format.
Uh-oh, don't tell her that.
Yeah, well, no, same for Blu-ray, but that's one of these movies that I saw when I saw it in the theater, and then it came out on Blu-ray. I immediately watched it. You know, sometimes you buy it and say, I really like this movie. I'm going to put it in my library. This was like, I got to go there again. This is someplace I want to go to with these very interesting, funny, charismatic characters, and the explosions of violence are just, you know, I mean, it's real tough guy stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Shane Black, despite, you know, some missteps, maybe like The Predator that he did.
Not crazy about that. Again, not to talk about my wife all the time, but she loves Predator. Her two favorite movies are Aliens 2 and the first Predator.
No, Aliens. You can say Aliens.
Okay.
There's no Aliens 2, just Aliens.
Maybe I meant TOO.
That's right. Alien. There you go. TOO. Yes.
Now, she loves that movie.
I have to tell you, I love Shane Black, and
Yeah.
my friend Lucas Kendall, Film Score Monthly Lucas Kendall, who's running a great Kickstarter to revamp his website. So go look up the Kickstarter for Lucas Kendall's Film Score Monthly. He's friends, or he used to be really good friends with Shane Black, and so he took me to Shane Black's house, and Shane Black had movie nights, and I took Andrei Zaleski's Possession, Sam Neill and Isabelle Adjani. I took Possession to his movie night to show, and he lives in Rock Hudson's old mansion, and Rock Hudson had like this secret gay disco room in the house, and it's adjacent to where Shane Black had his movie nights. And what Shane Black had done, he had two different projectors instead of having one projector, because this is like 20 years ago, and he had two projectors at the time focused in to get the image brighter, and it looked incredible. This predated HD, so the Possession that I brought over was not. It was not an HD, it was a DVD. Yeah. And so it looked incredible. And everyone hated the movie except Shane. he thanked me for bringing it over.
You and I talked about, I don't think this was on air, we talked a little bit about how hard it is to get any movie made. So you look at one of the things, this is a really good interview with Shane Black, by the way. It's like
I would imagine.
Good half hour at least. And this is a guy who got, what was it he got $4 million for? I mean, he was...
The Long Kiss Goodnight.
All right, The Long Kiss Goodnight, which I like a lot more than you do, by the way. Although it's not in a league with these two movies. He talked about the fact that it took him... Now, this is Shane Black, $4 million screenwriter.
He wrote Lethal Weapon.
And he's the guy who... Didn't he basically create the Lethal Weapon?
Yeah, he did. And by the way, he's in Predator. He's one of the team members in the original Predator as an actor.
Yeah, and so it took him 13 years to get The Nice Guys made. 13 years. It's hard to get movies made. It's really, really tough. That's one of the reasons why I've made some very low budget movies here, because I have some things I want to do before I leave the planet.
But we're going to make True Noir Dying in the Post-War World, because I really want to make it. I've only made one movie in my life. Directed one.
Well, it was a hell of a movie, and we'll outdo it with this one.
We will. Very excited. The script is, I know the guy who wrote it. It's a really, really good script.
Listen to this man.
Yeah. It's, what's great about that script is not only is it a great detective story, not only is it a great Nathan Heller story, but it's there's a Lynchian quality to it because I didn't know. What was interesting about it was we talked about doing these audio dramas and turning them into a TV series. That was kind of the plan. But I remember you calling me going, would you be interested in a movie script? I remember this call, and I'm like, would I? And you told me that there's these Nathan Heller, I guess 2 Nathan Heller novellas?
There's 3.
Oh, 3. Well, I didn't know this. I thought there was only the 19 novels. And then you told me about this novella, and you told me what it was. And I'm like, well, that's the movie. But I was surprised there's so many Lynchian details in it. Like with what they had to, they found something in a gutter that they actually used a broom handle to get out, and then there's somebody gets in a fist fight with somebody and it's not what you would expect. And in the script, when I was reading, I'm like, oh my God, I so want to make this movie because it's not just a great hard-boiled detective story. It's not just a great serial killer story, but and like you said, how do you make it different? How The Nice Guys was different because they're not nice guys, but this is not a straightforward detective story. It's got really weird, and it's true. It's based on true. It's wild, man. It's pretty
accurate. It's pretty accurate.
Yes, but it's very Lynchian, and I can understand where it came from, and that's one of the things that's exciting about it because it's not just a straightforward detective story, and I really hope we can make it because I'm excited.
As you know, the first Nathan Heller book, which was called True Detective, which was the source material for True Noir, the assassination of Anton Cermak, starts in the early 30s, and I follow Heller through his life, so that the last books are in the early 60s, and I always put him about 3 years behind the in terms of age, behind the year, and so Dying in the Post-War World is the story of what it was like for a combat veteran, which he was, a combat veteran, to come in, have the little house, have the wife, and the world is all fine. And then his wife is pregnant, and then the first thing he hears is he's got to go to this kidnap. This kidnapped father is dealing with having his daughter taken from him, and then there's a murder. So there's that undercurrent, and that I might call it bittersweet, but maybe a little more bitter than sweet. So the emotional reality of what that post-war world was like. Yeah, it was Ozzie and Harriet or whatever up here, but
sure.
Underneath, I mean, one of the things I was just talking to Barb about this, because her father was in, I think, the Battle of the Bulge. And my dad was in the military, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not, but I wrote the novelization of Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. No, I knew that.
And I got a lot of fan mail on that, a lot of it from guys who had been in combat, on D-Day, who said, I couldn't bring myself to go to the movie because I knew how explicit it was going to be in terms of violence, but I needed to experience it. So they went to my book.
Wow.
And they never went to the movie because it gave them one little layer of separation. So these guys, and I dealt with a guy I did Dick Tracy with, the initial comic strip artist. He was a guy who had been in combat, and he was definitely somebody. My God, this was in the 70s. He still had PSD,
Yeah.
Yes. What is it? PSTD?
PSTD. Post-traumatic stress syndrome.
These guys in this, we think of this post-war world.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes. And these guys carried this with them throughout their lives. And it was always like just bubbling under the surface. And my wife's father once I was sitting next to him, and we were never close. I mean, it was my father-in-law. I kind of tolerated him, and he tolerated me. And there's nobody around. And I think maybe because Saving Private Ryan had come out and I'd done the book, he suddenly opened up to me about the Battle of the Bulge and all the horrible things he'd been through. And and so again, these guys carried this stuff with them, and I wanted some sense of that. In this. It's not a major theme, but this is a guy who's been who was in combat.
Yeah.
There's a thing in the novella and in the book, in the script, where we find out that Heller smoked while he was in the service, and he stopped when he came back. Except he smokes one time, and that's when things are getting really dangerous and violent, and he's maybe going to have to kill somebody. On some level, he's back in Guadalcanal every time that happens.
Yeah.
So anyway,
this movie's going to be great.
Yeah.
We're just going to get it financed. We're going to start shooting it in April of 2026. People ask me, Rob, how can you just say that? And I think back to Shakespeare in Love, the movie that defeated Saving Private Ryan at the Oscars, became Best Picture that year, a movie that I adore. And Jeffrey Rush, who plays the producer, they're always asking, well, how is this going to happen? And he says, I don't know. It's a mystery. How are we going to be able to shoot this movie in April of 2026?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a mystery, but we're going to do it. Now, Max, what else did you buy? What else came?
Another one came that was another box set, the Dark City, which I think is a terrific one.
Oh, yeah. That, again, mine's on its way. That is Arrow's release of Dark City. What a spectacular release. This is Alex Proyas' follow-up to The Crow. And, of course, when this movie was originally released, New Line fucked it up because they were afraid, people won't understand it, so we have to put a crawl at the beginning of the movie and explain what happened, which, by the way, ruined the reveal. And finally, cooler heads prevailed, and they released the director's version of it, which is the only version to watch. And Roger Ebert became a champion of this film. And interestingly enough, when New Line started, when they really embraced the DVD format, Dark City was one of their early great releases with all these special features. And Roger Ebert actually did a commentary on Dark City that has been ported over to this release. Tell us, Max. Tell us about this.
Well, it looks stunning. I think it was last week that I talked about Jade.
Yeah.
And I had the experience of liking the theatrical version more than the director's cut. This time, so there's no rule about that. The director's cut here is far superior.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Yeah, this is like, this would be like you got, spoiler alert, you get Citizen Kane, and at the beginning there's a crawl that says, by the way, the sled, anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's ridiculous that they this very carefully put together movie had its deck reshuffled. Now I had seen the earlier version and liked it anyway because it looks fabulous as a film. And I think it had this mix of CGI, earlier CGI of course, but CGI and practical effects, and
The Crow before it, the great miniature work, the just beautifully. I mean, Alex Proyas is he's a really talented director, and he's been hit and miss in what he's been able to get made.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something. I'm going to go on record right now. I dearly love Star Crash, but I also dearly love Alex Proyas' Gods of Egypt. And if you watch Gods of Egypt is a prequel to Dark City because the location where Dark City is set, and I don't want to, if you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to give it away. Gods of Egypt is set in my Rob Burnett universal head canon. Gods of Egypt is set in the same place that Dark City is, only thousands of years later. I mean, Gods of Egypt is thousands of years earlier than Dark City.
This is a tiny aside. I've never seen The Crow.
What?
I've never seen The Crow because Brandon Lee was a friend of mine.
Oh.
And he used to be, you remember seeing our band Seduction of the Innocent at San Diego Con?
I did see your band multiple times, actually.
Do you know who our roadie was?
Was it Brandon Lee?
Brandon Lee. And there's even a video, music video of the band where he's glimpsed in the background. He was there the day we shot that. And he was a big Quarry fan, my character Quarry. And I would.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, Max. Is that this Quarry?
Yes, it is. I wish he was. We're here to read it because he was very smart about this character and understanding this character. And I'd get a phone call from him every now and then where he'd read one of the books. And I still have not been able to bring myself to watch The Crow because of Brandon's tragic death.
I would say this to you. He is transcendent in the film. And first of all, The Crow is an incredible movie. And I would go say, I dare say that J.O. Barr's original The Crow is one of the greatest comic book adaptations ever made. Despite what happened, it is such an unbelievable piece of work. And I'm not just saying that because my friend Dave Scow, whose 70th birthday is coming up, who he wrote The Hills Run Red, but he co-wrote The Crow. And he was also friends with Brandon Lee. And you really should get the 4K of The Crow and sit down with your wife and watch it. Because it is the goth Stairway to Heaven of movies, if that makes any sense. Or it is the goth Bela Lugosi's Dead of movies. It is a wonderful film, and his performance in it is incredible. And you really should watch it.
Well, I have to say, as much when I saw the actual real version of Dark City, that for the first time got my brain working on maybe you ought to watch The Crow. When he died, I was scheduled at San Diego Con to go there with Bill Mumy, Miguel Ferrer, Steve Lealoha, and Chris Christensen. We're Seduction of the Innocent. And Miguel and Bill, they called me and they said they were going to be pallbearers and they couldn't come to the con.
Wow. And
so they were expecting us, and so I filled in with some guys from Iowa and said, will you bring these guys out? So we called it Reduction of the Innocent. But we did appear. I wasn't as close to Brandon as Bill and Miguel were. I mean, but it hit me pretty hard.
Well, you should watch it. But tell us more about Dark City.
Well, Dark City. Again, it has its reveal comes fairly deep into the movie.
Yeah,
Richard O'Brien is in it, and Kiefer Sutherland, and it's a very much a science fiction noir where this world kind of resets every night at 12. And the people in it don't realize that they're being studied. Oh no, I'm not going to say that because I'll be doing damage to the property. But Dark City is very much. It's a nighttime movie. It's somewhat violent, and it's very clever. At first you're going to think, wow, this dialogue is very, very cliched. And then you realize that at a certain point you realize, there's a reason why everybody is saying these familiar lines that you've heard in other movies.
Yeah.
and then you begin to put it together. And the Rufus Sewell, who's the star, is quite excellent in portraying this guy who's woken up in this world and doesn't know what he's doing there, doesn't have any of these memories, and it's definitely filled with noir references. In fact, the basic plot of the Rufus Sewell character waking up, this is a real standard noir thing where you wake up and there's a dead body in the room and you apparently killed that body, usually a woman.
Right.
And that was a standard that was done any number of times very well. And so that was a clue to me, like, oh, we're doing that. And then there were other things, the way the character by John Hurt plays a very traditional police detective, but there are just oddball things, like he sits at home playing an accordion. What's that about? So it just does these touches that add up to more than the sum of their parts.
Yes, agreed. And Jennifer Connelly,
Too bad she's not beautiful.
Oh my! It's really funny because to me, Jennifer Connelly has had an amazing career. The fact that she was worked with Sergio Leone in Once Upon a Time in America. She was in and then a movie like Career Opportunities, but she was in this. Dennis Hopper. She was directed by Dennis Hopper in The Hot Spot, a noir that I love. Dude,
I love that movie.
How great is that movie?
Oh, amazing.
Radiance put it out. They put out a version of it on disc. And you have Miles Davis doing the score for that, and John Lee Hooker. The score for The Hot Spot is unbelievable. Talk about jazz. Oh my God.
You have to be able to put up with, because I know this will offend a lot of people, but you have to put up with Jennifer Connelly nude scenes and Virginia Madsen nude scenes. And I was just indignant.
I have to tell you, okay, I'll tell you a funny story. So I was working at Warner Brothers when The Hot Spot came out, and there was a woman that I work with that we clashed. Let's just say we clashed, and then we kind of became friends.
Yeah, that happens.
And she took me. She's much older than me, and she took me to the director's, the DGA, to a screening of The Hot Spot. It was a packed screening, and there is a scene in The Hot Spot where Jennifer Connelly's breasts are exposed in the water. The entire audience, men and women, collectively gasped. They all went, because she was absolutely radiant. And when you are observing perfection, and it was, I had to suppress my first of all, I gasped too, but I think the audience then needed it's unbelievable. I know it's funny because, guys, you and I both are puerile in that we love boobs. We'll always love boobs. We've loved boobs our whole life. We'll love boobs.
And we are boobs.
We're boobs. We are boobs. We love boobs. All shapes, sizes. I don't care. I love boobs. I can't help it. I'm biologically hardwired. But that moment was such a... this was 35 years ago, and I just the collective gasp from the audience as an aside. But
that's Jennifer, I'm one of the I'm here to talk about noir usually, or crime stuff. This is absolutely almost the epitome of noir. It's based on a Charles Williams novel.
Yeah,
and you've got Virginia Madsen as the dangerous femme fatale.
Oh, The Hot Spot is fucking great.
Yeah.
And I love, I've always loved Don Johnson. I first discovered Don Johnson in 1980. I got a copy of A Boy and His Dog on Media Home Entertainment, L.Q. Jones, based on a Harlan Ellison story. 1975. First time, post-apocalyptic, what a fucking crazy movie, but it was one of the first movies I saw when I was 13 years old. I mean, when I was able to get my hands in 1980, in the dawn of, that was a movie I got. Clockwork Orange was the first movie I watched twice in a row. Like, what the fuck? You know, and it was such a great time, but that's when I discovered Don Johnson. And he became one of my favorite actors. And then when they cast him in Miami Vice, Don Johnson has never, I don't think he's ever been given his due as a phenomenal actor. And he is the star of that movie. He fucking kills it. But he has been doing things like Quentin Tarantino has tapped him. Obviously, he was in Django. He was in Rebel Ridge, Jeremy Saulnier's with Aaron Pierre's latest film. I mean, Don Johnson, he was in the Watchmen TV series. Don Johnson fucking kills it. And Frankenheimer, dead bang.
Yeah.
You know, but he's never been able to get that. I mean, Don Johnson to me is an Academy Award caliber. Sonny Crockett, everyone knows him as that, but man, does that guy kill it every time. Every single time.
One of the things about Hotspot is that the basic structure of somebody who's going to commit a crime, going to commit a murder for a woman, right? That's really central, those kind of stories. And this is like when you see Jennifer Connelly, you'd kill for her. No question.
Yes, you would.
I believe it. That story sometimes doesn't work. You know, John Garfield looks at Lana Turner in short shorts and he goes like, I'm in. I'm going to kill whoever I have to kill. And me too. But sometimes it's a little sketchy. Like, really? You're gonna kill this guy? You're gonna kill her husband, and you think that's worth doing? Well, you're along on the ride in the Hotspot. You're just you're in the passenger seat. Where are we going?
But this was a conversation about Dark City.
Yes, it was.
I mean, Jennifer, what else did you get this week, Max?
Well, I got a couple of things. I got Iron Angels, the box set. This is a Vinegar Syndrome. And,
I forgot to I don't have any. I forgot to download any pictures of it, but you can see it now. You figured out where to put the box. That's good.
Somewhat, and it's. I've only watched the first one with my son, and he comes over and watches a movie or two with me through the week, and it's really, really good. The director is named Teresa Wu, and she's no relation to John Woo. It's just apparently more than one person in Asia with the last name Wu.
Go figure.
Yeah, go figure. And it's an incredible action movie. It's one of the girls with guns movies, like Yes, Madam, and those kind of movies.
Yeah.
And I love those actresses like Cynthia Kahn. Well, we know Michelle Yeoh, and this Moon Lee is the star here, and it really just rocks. I mean, in the middle of the movie, there's this incredible action sequence that would be like the end of any movie. Would love to have this sequence, and
sure.
we're only midway there. I thought it was terrific. I can't testify to the other two movies, but I'll be watching them because I really, really do love those kind of movies. Now, oddly, it seems like they were kind of trying to do Charlie's Angels.
Sure.
There's a guy who's the Charlie character, and then there's two women, one of whom is Moon Lee, but there's two men. They balance it with two men. So it's like Charlie's Angels if there'd been four people and two men, and then there's some romantic stuff going on between the team members of the Iron Angels. I loved it. Very colorful. It looks great. I'm just going to see if it's 4K. I didn't even care. I really don't. I don't know if it's 4K. I didn't give a shit. I thought it was because I watch a lot of Asian stuff with Nate because that's his business is doing Japanese translation, and he loves it. We've watched Chinese, we watched Hong Kong action movies forever. Now another one we watched, if I have it here, like one of the ones we watched recently is Armor of God.
Yes. And now this Armor of God. Look at that. First of all, give us a little turnaround on that beautiful box set.
Yeah, it's I've still got the. Let me just see here.
Because I got this. Here it is, right here.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's excellent. I don't love it as much as I love some Jackie Chan movies because it has a certain amount of that Asian humor that just doesn't connect with me anyway. And there's sort of a try every now and then. Jackie Chan likes to kind of do Faulty Towers. He tries to do a farce, and it doesn't. He's not Basil Fawlty. Let's put it that way. But the payoff here, the last half hour, the first half hour is terrific, and then the last half hour is terrific. The middle is just kind of like, yeah, that's what fast forward buttons are for. But this is the movie where he almost got killed.
Right.
And and it's bone chilling to watch him because they, how they like to put these behind the scenes things, clips from deleted scenes at the end of the movie during the credits, and it's just uncomfortable to watch. But the box set is excellent. If you like Jackie Chan, I don't think you want to miss this box set.
Yeah, and this is a British box set. Who put this out?
This is I think it's 88.
Yeah, I think it's 88 Films, right?
And they do a lot of interesting stuff.
88 Films is great. I'm a huge fan of what they've done, and they've got, again, one of the great boutique labels that has been, they're great purveyors of Asian cinema. They put out a lot of great Asian movies recently.
See, I don't know if I agree with you that this area is gonna go away in 3 to 4 years. I think the boutiques are going to keep it alive as long as machines are around.
Well, that's another issue, is that I'm looking at my, like, I've talked, like, I want to get those Magnetar, the $1,500. I want to buy like 6 of them. And I figure if I have 6, I can put them away till I shuffle off this mortal coil. But that's the real problem. It's not necessarily the boutique labels will manufacture stuff, but are we going to have to keep... I mean, we might be in a post-apocalyptic environment sooner than we think. So are we going to be able to repair... is it going to be like The Postman, where they're showing like one movie projected? I forget what the movie was. Was it Sound of Music or something? In The Postman, by Will. I love The Postman, but is that where we're going to be? And the thing is, our discs are reliant. The problem with Blu-rays and 4Ks is basically they work like software. It's not like a DVD where you can just put it in and the laser plays it. You actually have to have another layer of. So look, I hope so. Hopefully, I would like to believe that the world will go to the brink and we'll all pull back, and you won't have Russians going, hey, we can get you. We can just loan Iran our nuclear weapons, which is what they're saying now. There's other people that will give them warheads. Oh, okay. Is that what you want to do? Because I have my physical media collection to think about. You know what an EMP will do? Have you ever watched what happens to a disc when you put it in a microwave?
Why are you putting your discs in microwaves?
I had to see what would happen.
I've seen it in movies. I got a couple more to talk about, but why don't we talk about what else came in at the Burnett household?
Well, okay. I did get a box, small box from Kino Lorber, an interesting. Well, first of all, let's start with something unrelated to movies. But everyone knows my love of Super Deluxe Edition, Bob Clearmountain's company, where they are going back and remixing famous, mostly a lot. Well, not just, I shouldn't say just 80s, but they've remixed Wham. They put out Duran Duran's Dance Macabre, a new album, the Halloween album. They're going back and remixing some of the greatest 80s albums ever. And they're doing them in Dolby Atmos. Now, let me tell you, Max, I'm a little younger than you, but there was one album in the 1980s, and I've talked about this on the show, that if you needed make-out music, and the kind of girls that I liked responded to this album. This was the only problem with this album was it was only like 35 minutes long. It wasn't like 1999, which is another great make-out album. But this was the greatest make-out album in the 80s. And Super Deluxe Edition put it out. So, and I'm going to get judged because I'm making it big, but let me just tell you, this album always got you where you wanted to go. Roxy Music's Avalon. If you don't know this album, then it's fine. You'll never understand. But so this is the Super Deluxe Edition of Roxy Music remixed in Atmos. Now, this is, I don't know what the spine is, what number it is, but this is Super Deluxe Edition 36. So there's 36 albums. So what they've done is you get usually three different versions of the album, but they go back to the original master tapes. So there's elements you've never heard before, and they give every disc they send you the O-ring, the slipcase, so it's flat and separate. You have to put it on yourself. But I mean, these are, if you love these albums, these are unbelievable. And this album, I know it's Brian Ferry, and if Roxy Music is your taste, but I'm just saying, and like, as an old man, I have plenty of memories to this record with plenty of people, let me just say. But so, got this in, and in addition to that, I also got, same thing, In Excess's Listen Like Thieves. And I saw In Excess twice live, and then this has the 2025 Atmos mix. It has a 2025 regular mix, and this has B-sides. This has all kinds of incredible stuff on it. And if you're, I'm a huge In Excess fan. Rest in peace, Michael Hutchence. As a live band, these Aussies, man, they fucking killed it every time. When I saw them live twice, I mean, early 80s stuff, Shabu Shaba. One of the greatest, I would say here's a random weird Rob Burnett fact. One of the greatest uses of a source cue, a rock and roll cue in a movie, is the use of their song To Look at You in the movie Reckless, starring Daryl Hannah and Aidan Quinn. If you've never seen Reckless, by the way, Warner Archive put it out on DVD, but it's never come out on Blu-ray or 4K. George, Reckless, along with Risky Business, those are two of my favorite teen films of the 80s. If you guys haven't seen Reckless, it's fucking awesome. So I'll start with that. I got those. But the thing about Super Deluxe Edition is, if you don't, like Roxy Music's Avalon, because I wasn't the only one who thought it was one of the greatest make-out albums ever. If you don't go and get it when they first come out, I have missed so many of their discs because I wasn't paying attention. So Super Deluxe Edition, if that's your jam, check them out. I'm searching for the ones I didn't get on like Discog or Disc whatever. I'm looking for them in the secondary market, but great to have them.
Rob, have they done much new wave like Elvis Costello, Blondie, Kim Wilde, any of that? Is that in there at all?
Sort of. I mean, not okay. That's actually a really good question. So let's go and find out. Since this is the best show I think we've ever done. Come on. I'm going to go to their website and see, because it's really interesting to look at what they've done. By the way, I heard that Bob Clearmountain lost his house in the fires here in L.A., but his music was not. He didn't lose any of the master tapes. So here's, on the Super Deluxe Edition website, here are some of the Super Deluxe Edition exclusives. Soft Cell's nonstop erotic cabaret. Simple Minds was there. Thompson Twins, Def Leppard, Luther Vandross, Claudia Brucken, Wham, Paul Young. I mean, it's very British skewing. So those are things that are like still available. Everything's like sold out as well. So it's hard. And what do they have coming up? That's a good question. Pink Floyd, Roger Waters, obviously. Roxy Music. They have a Paul McCartney album. They have Eric Clapton. Wow, they have a De La Soul. I didn't see that De La Soul was coming out. I got to get that. I love that. I didn't know that was coming out. They have a Queen record. Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells. So they've got a lot of crazy stuff. Vandergraaf Generator. Wow, I didn't know that. So it's very much British. It's skewed.
Have they done any Kim Wilde?
No. Kids in America like that? No, they haven't done that stuff. But that doesn't mean they won't. But, I mean, these albums are more... If they're iconic in England, they'll probably be a part of that. So, yeah. But anyway. I also got a box from Kino Lorber. Not a big box, but Catherine Deneuve. I mean, here's another... Their Cohen Media Group releases contemporary classics. Catherine Deneuve and the President's Wife. I actually saw this movie. I kind of liked it. Then what I really love are their milestone collections made in New Jersey. Films from Fort Lee, America's first film town. It's a 2-disc special edition, and it includes 14 films from 1909 to 1939 and 2 documentaries. Only Kino Lorber, as they launder cartel money for, I don't even know why. God bless Kino Lorber. And you know what? Those drug cartels, God bless you, because you're making sure that cinema is preserved. I love Kino Lorber. And look at this. The Blues Under the Skin, Buddy Guy, B.B. King, Walter Furry Lewis, Mance Lipscomb, Brownie McGee, Roosevelt Sykes, Jimmy Streeter, Sonny Terry, Junior Wells, and Bucka White. I don't even know what this is, but I'm going to watch it. Blues, amazing. In the early 70s, during a resurgence of interest in the Delta Blues, celebrated music documentarian Robert Mathulis traveled throughout the Deep South to capture on film the remnants of the authentic American blues. If you love Sinners, this is your disc. I love that post-Sinners scene where they walk into the bar and you see, should I say that? But if you haven't seen Sinners, there's a great scene at the end where a character says, I like the old stuff. It's great. Here you go. And then, of course, Handsome Harry, Jamie Sheridan, Steve Buscemi, Marianne Mayberry, Aidan Quinn from Reckless, John Savage, Campbell Scott, Titus Welliver, and Karen Young, Bette Gordon. I don't even know what this is. Handsome Harry. Do you know this movie?
I do not. It rings a bell, though. I've heard of it.
Okay, now, I'm making fun of the very company that you work for. You have a special feature coming out with, of course, Heath, who's been on this channel, Serial at Midnight. You and Heath had something that was announced this week coming out in 4K. So Max Allan Collins is not only has he written everything under the sun, Max Allan Collins has also been an audio commentary specialist. And Max, when I walked into your house, what did I comment? Where you're sitting right now in your office upstairs, what was the first thing I looked at and saw? And I said, is that the actual artwork for
The Two Jakes?
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to get it. I mean, this is one of my very favorite movies.
Max, tell us about The Two Jakes. By the way, this is part of the news. I'm jumping the gun. This is Kino Lorber's release of Paramount's The Two Jakes, which is the sequel to Chinatown. So, Max, you have the floor. You do with Heath a commentary on this disc. Tell us about it.
Well, one of the things that was interesting about doing the commentary is that I'm a huge fan of this movie. Probably there's not any bigger fan of the movie on the planet, except maybe Jack Nicholson. And Heath was lukewarm about it, which was interesting. I mean, he didn't betray that too much, but that was a factor.
By the way, you saw that he tweeted on social media how great you guys were doing the commentary. He's really excited about it.
Yeah, the approach, I'm kind of the lazy guy, and he's the hardworking one, because he does an enormous amount of research. I mean, my research is I look a day before I look some stuff up, and he'll spend 2 weeks deep diving on the film, the stars, the director, and everything. So I go into this where I can respond. I can just talk about the movie, and he's got this undercarriage of really solid research. So he's just phenomenal to do a commentary with. And this movie, I want to say, if you love Chinatown, don't expect this movie to be Chinatown. I think I said the other day to you, Rob, this should be viewed more as a coda than a sequel, because this is the Whatever Happened To. And again, this is the Jake Gittes character, the private eye, who's got a very successful business, a new elaborate office. He'd been in combat too, and there's a bit of that thing that we talked about earlier in this film. What the film lacks two things that I think get in the way for some people. One is the score does not compare to the Jerry Goldsmith score of Chinatown. It's by Van Dyke Parks, and I would call it serviceable. And it deserved more than that. The other thing is, it does not really have a strong central female character. There are a couple of characters that are good, but you don't have the femme fatale. You don't have, because if you look at Faye Dunaway, if you're someone who's seen Private Eye movies or read Private Eye books, one of the things you're thinking, so is she a good girl or is she a bad girl? Is she the villain, or is she, and so that's part of the magic of Chinatown. That is not here.
Right.
This is about how the, not to do a spoiler alert on Chinatown, but the tragic events of Chinatown, he is still carrying with him, and he's still dealing with it. And he's a guy who, he's a guy who does divorce work. In fact, the third movie they were going to do was going to be about what happened when the no fault divorce came in and upended his business. But that movie will never be made because people did not respond, or at least didn't go to The Two Jakes. I think it's going to be an easier movie to enjoy now than it was when it came out.
By the way, who wrote this movie?
Robert Towne, the guy who wrote Town.
And did Robert Towne ever write and direct a film?
Yes, a few.
Is there a movie that you particularly might have liked that he wrote and directed?
I don't know. Tell me. What am I not thinking of?
Well, there's a movie that Warner Brothers made in 1988 called Tequila Sunrise.
Tequila Sunrise. I wish that were on 4K. I really would like to.
God, that the 4K of Tequila Sunrise would be great. I mean, the Blu-ray is terrible.
Yeah, it is kind of bad. I think Town had some problems with The Two Jakes. It has a storied, and we do talk about this, Heath and I, on the commentary. It also had a long gestation, and it even started shooting with a slightly different cast, Nicholson at the center, and was shut down. And Nicholson worked very hard to get it made, finally get it made. And I think he's still proud of the movie. I understand he has not distance himself. And Town doesn't say what he thinks of the movie. Now, I've read various scripts, and there are aspects of the scripts that would have been nice to make it into the movie.
Sure.
But it already was a somewhat long movie, and so some things had to go. But give it a try. And it looks like it's going to have a slipcase and everything.
It's got a slipcase and everything, and this is a prestige release from Kino Lorber, and you and Heath do the audio commentary. So how cool is it that your words will be on this release of one of your? I mean, how cool? First of all, let me ask you, as a fan, and obviously Chinatown's one of your favorite movies. How cool is it that you get to contribute to the legacy of Chinatown and its sequel and Robert Town and Nicholson? How cool is that for you?
I wanted that gig really, really bad. I mean, I basically lobbied to get it because I guess I'm an apologist for the movie because so many people have dissed it and dismissed it. And I really wanted to come out, and I think I have because of my background with Road to Perdition and so on, I've got a certain amount of gravitas to give it, to make what I think of it taken seriously, I hope.
I just love that we live in a world where this can happen. We're all professional fans. We all grew up as fans. I mean, you're truly a professional. You've had your Quarry novel that we showed earlier was adapted into a series for Cinemax, and Tom Sizemore was in a Quarry movie, and you got Road to Perdition made. I mean, I'm not on your level, nor do I suggest that I ever would be, but it's pretty cool when we can take our professional credentials and use them to satisfy our fandom. Our fan itch. We can scratch that fan itch. I mean, certainly working on the Star Trek special features for Next Generation and Enterprise was that for me. But, for you, this has got to be is this a highlight in your life?
It really is something that means a lot to me. And just to be able, and of course, the fan part of me, I'm going to have a 4K. Right? I don't give a shit who does the commentary.
I know. I keep waiting. Nothing I've worked on. We don't have wait a minute, maybe Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I think there is a 4K. I think Dieter got it for me. That's the only thing, the first movie I ever worked on. No, because Army of Darkness does too. So.
Yeah.
But I didn't make those movies.
Well, I think I'll blow a little smoke up your skirt. I mean, I think you've accomplished a hell of a lot. I mean, that's an amazing career.
No, it's all great. I mean, but I love the fact that we can still be fans and you can do this. It's so cool that, and Kino Lorber officially announced it. This is part of the news section. I'm just jumping the gun. Announced it this week. Put up that's from Kino Lorber. So that drug cartel money is being used very effectively.
Doing God's work,
doing God's work. Between Kino and Vinegar Syndrome, I mean, I never thought I would get Little Darlings in 4K. Which, by the way, Vinegar Syndrome at their pop-up is showing Little Darlings. I don't know if it's at Vidiot's. I don't know. I got to look into it at where I'm going to go. I wanted to go to the Breathless event, but they're having a Little Darlings event.
A surprisingly good movie. It
is. It's a really good movie. I mean, who would have thought Arma Desante, Q&A Arma Desante, I mean, would be
the jury. I the jury.
That's right. I the jury.
Mike Hammer.
Who would have thought that Arma Desante would be Christy McNichol's or Tatum O'Neal's love interest?
Well, yeah, I mean, my career has been, I mean, I'm not rich. I'm not famous.
But as Prince sang, you're rich in personality.
Well, my first big career break, I was a huge Dick Tracy fan. In terms of comics, huge. I mean, crazed. And I got to take over the strip from the creator.
Yeah, man.
For 15 years. Then they fired my ass.
Yeah, but 15 years, the getting was good. You ate good. Well, I don't know of how good you're going to eat from a newspaper comic strip, but you know what I mean, metaphorically.
No, yeah, it was better than it is today. But, I mean, I was in a position that I knew what was required and I knew what to say because the fans are inside the material in a way that just some pro walking in off the street maybe can do a professional job. But if you've lived it and experienced it, And I know when I got the job, I sat down with the then editor and the then publisher, and they said to me, well, we think you should do something like Starsky and Hutch in the strip when you remake it. And I said, I had the balls to say, Starsky and Hutch will be gone in a couple of years. Dick Tracy lives forever. So we do not want to go down that road of chasing somebody else's IP.
Well, listen, you were right in that. There's some super chats I'd like to get to. A couple of them are directed at you.
Okay.
First of all, Castle Grace Skull, the lovely Castle Grace Skull, says, have you thought about marketing True Noir to autistic, epileptic, or blind people? That's actually a great idea. I don't know how direct to do that. We're talking about a company like you've hooked us up with a company that has libraries. We'll get True Noir into all the different libraries, physical media. But that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea, Castle Grayskull. Very well done.
There's a separate company, probably more than one, but I know of one that did some of my novels that went directly to the market to the blind.
Yeah, that's a great idea. She also goes on to say, she says the Montreal International Film Festival is still accepting applications until June 27th. Come on up with True Noir. Well, if they would accept an audio drama, we're going to have an event in a theater. I mean, that's an interesting idea because Montreal is the kind of city, I've been up there to Fantasia, they might actually do that. Like they've now, like that's you know what? I will do that. I will look into that. We've got 5 days to maybe we can ask them if they'd be interested in doing an audio drama as part of their film festival, and we could go up there. Montreal is a beautiful city. I love Montreal. It's beautiful. And we could go out with Castle Grayskull and get her hammered and make her listen to us for hours on end because we would not stop talking. She'd be one of those girls that was like, I went out with those guys last night and they never stopped talking. Des Doyle, all the way from, of course, Ireland. Des says, so based on Rob's reactions, I'm going to guess George's list includes Contact, Excalibur, 2010, Logan's Run, Eyes Wide Shut, but not Outland. Am I close? Well, let me just tell you, I will not give you an answer to that, but you are one of those that you mentioned is the one movie that I was very surprised was not on the list. And the one you thought wasn't on the list, I don't think we talked about, to be honest. So I can say unequivocally, no comment. but it's very. I wish I could go into this further, but Bill Hunt from the Digital Bits has announced that Excalibur is in fact coming to 4K. So to be honest, the conversation I had with George did not involve Excalibur because I already know the disposition of that film. It is coming. So that was not part of it. But everything else in that list, except Outland, to be honest, we didn't talk about Outland. So maybe that was on a list. I can't believe I forgot to mention or talk about Outland. We did not talk about Outland, so I could not tell you the answer to that question. But that was not the movie that... The one movie... I will say this. The one movie that is not on the list is one you mentioned. That's all I'm going to say. Big Disc Energy asks, he's been a member for 4 months. Big Disc Energy wants to know, Max, do you know John Carpenter? And do you have any John Carpenter stories?
I do not know John Carpenter. I am a fan and have been a fan of his from very early on.
Me too.
Why can't I think of the name of the prison of the jail outbreak? And I love that movie.
Assault on Precinct 13.
I love that movie, and that's obviously before Halloween, and I had seen that before Halloween. So yeah, he rates very highly with me.
You got to smoke? Napoleon Wilson.
I love that character.
I do too. I love Assault on Precinct 13.
It's probably my favorite Carpenter movie.
It also has one of the great theme songs of all time. That Carpenter doing down no 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 no.
Oh yeah.
Down no 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 no. Down no 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 no. It's so good. Major Chai Chai asks, "Hi Max, what panels are you going to be on at the San Diego Comic-Con?" Now I should say Max Allan Collins is an official guest of honor of the San Diego Comic-Con this year.
Well, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think Thursday is kind of a mystery writers, crime writers panel. And I think on Friday, it's the Titan panel. Is it ours on Friday or Saturday, Rob?
Well, ours is on Friday.
Because I have one on with Rob is going to interview me, kind of a career thing. And then Titan, who I've done a lot of work for the last 20 years, really, because they're also the hard case crime people. My good friend Andrew Sumner is going to interview me there, so I'm going to do those three.
Yes.
Thank you, Major Chai Chai.
I know, right?
Very cool.
Very, very cool.
In fact, today this is the panel we're going to do.
Yeah, we're doing the panel.
No, I mean what we did today.
Oh yeah, This is the panel. This is us, man. We're wildly entertaining. Thomas Logan, our friend Thomas Logan, big friend of the channel, been here for a while, says, "Max, you've been around since Thompson and Webb brilliantly subverted audience expectations with Cape Fear in 1962. What's it like seeing Alex Garland and Danny Boyle masterfully do the same with 28 years later today?" Have you seen 28 years later?
I've seen the first two. I have not seen this current one yet. My son and I are going to go to it.
It's interesting. It's interesting to compare those to Cape Fear. I loved it, by the way. I love 28 years later.
By the way, I saw Cape Fear, the first one, with Robert Mitchum in the theater.
Yeah, that's why he said that. I'm sure he knew that what a great movie.
Incredible movie.
Geeko Mellet says the Thin Man films in 4K. Myrna Loy is fire. Well, speaking of Warner Archive, they released the Thin. It's not in 4K, but they released a box set of the Thin Man box set. They've released a set. They released the Thin Man collection,
it's really good.
It's really, really good. It looks incredible, and you can get them all for $50 on Amazon.
One thing to note about that particular box set is that Dashiell Hammett is famous for stopping writing very early on in his career. He wrote the screen stories for the first three Thin Man. That's basically his last stuff.
Yep.
So he did screen stories for the sequels. Obviously, he did the novel for the first Thin Man movie, but he did the next two movies. Another Thin Man and After the Thin Man.
Yes. And they're wonderful films.
Yeah.
Just wonderful movies. So let me just back here. I've got to go. Why can't I find what I was looking for? Oh, because I'm looking at the wrong thing. 1001 Johnny. Great friend of the channel. Always has very interesting things to say. 1001 Johnny. Why can't I click on this? I'm trying to bring this down. Says, my physical media to start the week is Superman Adventures Compendium 1, and it's a Superman the Animated Series comic tie-in. Did you ever watch the new Batman the Animated Series or Superman the Animated Series? Paul Dini did the Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, my longtime partner Terry Beatty did the DC Comics iteration that was in sync with and using the style of the original one. And then there was another group of them that I watched also. I thought there's been some very good animation on that.
So good. And I also like the ones where they brought Adam West and Burt Ward back and did two movies on direct-to-video, and they're very funny. To see that. I feel sorry for a Batman fan who can't enjoy the entire world there. No, I mean it's you got to get it's. I always call it at scale. You have to watch things at scale, and that's why as a fan, I can't wait to see James Gunn's Superman. I mean, you've got. I was talking about this yesterday on the member call, but you've got Zack Snyder's Superman as this. That's on one side of the spectrum. But you can still also watch the 66 Batman series as well. And as somebody who grew up with these things, you get different iterations of Batman or different iterations of Superman. Like for me, my Superman as a little kid was George Reeves.
Me too.
I love George Reeves, and he certainly doesn't fit the mold. Like he didn't have this sculpted body. He was a powerful looking man in the 50s, and he was a great Superman. He had the lantern jaw, but now you look at him and he certainly wouldn't fit the image of today. But when I was growing up, and he was a baller, unapologetic. He would steal stories from Lois. He was the man. Like, he was great. I loved the George, and of course, to me, Superman was like, when I saw George Reeves, he was like my dad. He was not a young Superman in his 20s. Whereas Christopher Reeve was when he played Superman. So he was on the big screen, but I still saw Superman to me was somebody sophisticated that I wanted to grow up and be. I don't know.
Well, I think the people who are dismissive of the Batman, and it's not as bad as it used to be. It used to get a lot of contempt. But the Batman TV series, that's what sparked all of the superhero stuff.
Oh, yeah.
When they hit Batman TV show, you wouldn't have had anything that's come between then and all the Marvel stuff, everything. All of that grows from that silly, funny little TV show. And I'll say this, I used to show that to my grandson when he, the Blu-ray set is a beautiful Blu-ray
Beautiful.
set. And he loved those. And he was, I think, maybe 7,
Of course.
It was great. And I could enjoy the double entendres and the silliness and the loving spoof. I thought it was a loving spoof.
100%. Stubble McShave writes in and says, one of the reasons that the Super Deluxe Editions favor Brits may be in part due to what happened when Universal Studios had that fire in 2008. Check out the 2019 New York Times article, The Day the Music Burned, on how thousands of legendary master tapes were lost. Very true, very tragic. You might be right about that. I don't know the answer. And Bob Clearmountain's home studio here in LA, I believe it was in the Palisades, burned down. But he didn't have any master tapes there. So, Max, I would like to turn it over to you for just a few minutes.
Okay.
And one of the things I would love you to talk about is this. Charlie One Eye with Richard Roundtree, Roy Thinnis, Nigel Davenport. I believe this actually came out from Vinegar Syndrome. I think so. Yeah. Or one of their partner labels.
It is a Vinegar Syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just got this, so take it away, Max. Tell us about Charlie One Eye.
Well, first of all, I'm a huge Richard Roundtree fan. I love the Shaft movies, including, I really think Shaft in Africa is much underappreciated. He's even very good on the TV show, which is watered down, but it's still John Shaft. And there was a brief period where he was a legitimate movie star, big time, because he had starred in this huge, Shaft was as big as it got. And so this is a period, Charlie One-Eye, which is basically an Italian Western. It's shot in Spain, in that wonderful craggy landscape that you see in some of the Italian Westerns. And it's basically a twofer. I mean, we've got Richard Roundtree and Roy Thinnis all through the whole picture, and then the bounty hunter, Nigel Davenport, catches up with him finally. But it's not a buddy comedy because it's a situation where these two guys kind of get thrown together and are trying to flee in the desert, and they aren't really friends until they've earned each other's respect deep into the movie. And the reason why I mentioned the movie star thing is that this is something that Roundtree apparently really wanted to do, and had to talk them into letting him. He wanted to show he could do something different than Shaft, and he did. And it's almost an art film. I mean, it's really a movie that could only be a 70s movie, because it has a very bleak ending, which was, you pretty much had to do when you're doing a 70s movie. And he's wonderful in it. Thinnis is really, really good too. He's playing with terrible teeth, and he's an Indian in this, and it's funny, it's harrowing, and Charlie One Eye, by the way, is the name of a rooster. It's not the name of either one of the two main characters. I enjoyed this more than anything I've seen lately, and it really showed me what a loss it was when Roundtree kind of was shuttled into these secondary parts, or B movie parts, or C movie parts. He always worked. He did a certain amount of TV, but I don't want to see him on Love Boat. I want to see him, shooting people and being charismatic with ladies. So it's really sad. But this movie Thelma, which I don't know if you've seen that, Rob, but that Richard Roundtree is a co-star of that movie Thelma.
Yeah.
And it's this last movie, and it's wonderful, and it's a real testament to what a good actor he was. But he just when the blaxploitation era ended, a lot of these guys, even somebody like Jim Brown, who were on top of the world, it just went away. It just was over. And that was very sad, because Roundtree was one of the most charismatic and talented actors in the movies at that time. But there's that era, he's in Earthquake. All of this stuff happened around the same time. And then it runs its course. The blaxploitation runs its course, and people like Roundtree, people like Pam Grier, they just kind of disappear or go into very secondary things.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he's underused in the two Shaft sequels, though he's quite good in the third one, I would say he steals the third one, even though it doesn't show up till something like the last 15 minutes.
Excuse me.
It's criminal that he wasn't treated better in those movies. He was just nodded to, basically. Well, we better get Roundtree in this.
Yeah, no, I look, I mean, Fred Williamson, same thing. I mean, I love Jim Brown, obviously coming from a sports background or whatever, but it's, I'm a huge blaxploitation film fan, because as a kid growing up in Seattle, I saw these characters. My first crush was Nichelle Nichols, and how great is it to have Truck Turner on Blu-ray? But I saw, I mean, especially all the New York set stuff, because New York was like, I loved sleazy New York movies of the 70s, because it was the antithesis of where I grew up in Seattle.
Sure.
And all the blaxploitation characters to me were like superheroes.
Oh yeah.
Even though it didn't matter whether it was Rudy Ray Moore's Dolomite or Slaughter or Shaft or Coffee. I mean, it was like all these people were larger than life to me, and because it was so out of the realm of where I was living.
I'll tell you a real quick story, which is that Bill Lustig, the director Bill Lustig, hired me to do some stuff for him. This is the very beginning of my screenwriting, about 1993, and we were doing a remake of Brute Force, the movie from the 40s that became called The Expert. And they had and Lustig said one day, well, we're going to have a table read. I'm going to get some actors in. I said, fine, and so I'm sitting at the table, and Fred Williamson walks in.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's Fred Williamson. And that was, and then I got to sit and listen to him do my lines. I mean, there's nothing better for a writer than to hear somebody they admire or a really good actor bring their lines to life. And he was supposed to be in the movie, and he ultimately wasn't, because the very last minute it changed from a Dirty Dozen movie, where Williamson was one of this sort of, and you'd know every other name that they had lined up. And then they, at the last minute, they decided to hire Jeff Speakman and do it as a one-off of one character. All those characters were mushed into one, and it's not a terrible movie. I'm glad to have my name on it, but because I like having my name in a movie. What can I say?
Why not? Who doesn't?
Right, but probably the highlight of that experience was getting to hear my lines read by Fred Williams.
Amazing. I mean, that's how amazing is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned this, but I want to make a point. I'm just this guy sitting in Iowa. I've lived here my whole life in this one little town, and this fucking amazing things keep happening to me. And I'll take the ride.
Well, I don't think they have just happened to you. You did cultivate a talent since you were very young. You started writing at a very young age, and you've dedicated yourself nose to the grindstone. You know, people talk about 10,000 hours. How many hours have you put in?
Well, it's
millions.
The links I will go to not get a real job are very, very extensive. But I think it comes back to what we were talking about before. I was a fan. You know, like Ray Bradbury was a fan. Like Robert Bloch was they were that first group of science fiction fans.
Oh, yeah.
And I was a fan. And I brought a fan's enthusiasm to the material and knowledge of the material. So I ended up, as you know, Mickey Spillane was the first writer I really ever loved. And I ended up meeting him, knowing him, and continuing the Mike Hammer series.
Yeah.
So there is a progression to it, but you have to put yourself out there. There's no question that you can't just put on a tight sweater and sit on a malt shop chair at Schwab's or whatever and wait for somebody to
discover you.
Yeah, to discover you. It doesn't work that way for writers. And
yeah, no. But
I tried.
Yes. Luis Feliciano says, is online the only option now to buy Criterion discs? I went to Barnes & Noble the other day and all the physical media was gone. Well, look, the Barnes & Noble Criterion sale, I think it starts next month. I think it's July and November. Is it? So, I mean, I haven't been into a Barnes & Noble in a while, but I have availed myself of their 50% off sales, and I can't wait because I'm sure I got $500 at least worth of Criterion 4Ks that I want to buy, and it kills me. I think the last one I bought was Thief because I couldn't wait. But yeah, maybe people just don't carry. The thing is, in store, so few people are buying physical media. We've all been pushed online. I mean, you can't. So, and by the way, I don't mind that. I mean, there's nothing better than getting boxes from Vinegar Syndrome that has their own packing tape on the outside, or you get from the boutique labels. They really go all out and they're really well packed. It's always fun to get something. I only worry about Second Sight because I got my Japanese bean grower. Somebody switched my boxes, and every time I get them from, it's hit and miss. And Second Sight, those are the packages that are the most. You don't want them dented, So, but yeah, it's weird. Thomas Logan, our friend Thomas says, Bobby, A24 buys the rights to Hill's The Warriors and offers you $3 million to write or direct a sequel. Do you accept? What's the story and what year is it set in? Well, look, Tommy, if A24 is going to give me $3 million to do anything, it's kind of like when Gozer asks you if you're a god. Are you a god? No, you say yes. If Gozer asks you if you're a god, you say yes. If someone is going to give you $3 million to write, here's what I would say. If I had to today remake The Warriors, and by the way, Tony Scott was going to do that. When he took his own life, he was on the bridge in San Pedro, where he was going to make. The thing about the Warriors now, if I was going to, I would assume like you could make a period piece because the Warriors is based on an ancient Greek story. But if you were going to do it today, I would make the Warriors a cross-country story. Oh. Instead of going from a conclave in Brooklyn back to Coney Island, you would have to get from New York to L.A. in a certain amount of time, and you couldn't fly because they know you. The TCA would never let you on a plane. And it would be, you could do the same story. All right, boppers, and you could have the DJ, but she's on the internet. And you've got, and it would be a cartel story where you've got all these cartel members that are infiltrated America and they're going after the Warriors and they have to get from New York to Los Angeles, put a ticking clock on it. And I don't know how long it's going to be, but that's my first inclination. Max, if you had to, we're being asked beyond the spot, if you had to do a remake of The Warriors, which is one of my favorite movies, to be honest, what would you do?
I'd write the script and hire you to direct it.
Yeah, but what would it be about? And I appreciate that.
I think I'd keep it urban, and I'd add in, I'd add in different ethnic groups because I think it's a very white movie for being about gangs.
Yeah, but the best gang, the Gramercy Riffs, is all black.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. But I think there's more ethnic groups than just black and white.
Yeah, but there's a lot. You're right, because the main gangs, but they do show there's Latino gangs, and to be fair, the dumbest gang, the all-white gang, are on roller skates. I wouldn't do that.
Isn't there an Irish gang, too?
Well, there's the Rogues, there's the David Pat. They're kind of the because I think the white gangs, the Warriors themselves are ethnically mixed. It's got the spectrum. You got the Italian member, you got the black members, but then still the main character, I'll tell you what I would do though. The main character, Swan's white. You can't make a movie like The Warriors and make the main guy white. You've got him. And by the way, what's going on in the country now with ICE? So the Warriors would have that component that ICE is looking for them. The ICE is looking for them. The cartels are looking for them. In Trump's America, it could also be like we're on the verge of apocalypse. So you could make it like a pre-apocalypse movie. Shit, man, you should write that. We should go make that movie. I'm in.
About next week is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's about next week. It's about next week. Yeah.
Well, here's what I would really do if they gave us a box of money and said remake The Warrior. You and I would make Dying in the Post-War World instead and just deliver it and say, this is what we did.
But what would be interesting? What would be interesting, though, is the Warriors could actually be, because a movie has to be about something. The Warriors could be how America, surprisingly, has been moving away. It's become so tribalized. We've moved away from the melting pot idea, which, by the way, the melting pot idea of America is right. It was working. Not this cultural, preserve everyone's culture. No, America worked because we took things from all the cultures. We were the ultimate cultural appropriators. And in doing so, we took pieces from everyone's culture. And The Warriors could be a movie about how the Warriors themselves are all about what America is supposed to be.
That's interesting.
All the cultures, the Warriors are strong because they've appropriated and they respect everybody's culture. But the whole point is their culture needs to merge into a new culture. And the American melting pot is what gives the Warriors their strength. And all these people that want to turn America back into some ridiculous America that never existed, they're the villains. And the Warriors are the heroes because they are representing all the cultures, but they take, just like when you have a Men on a Mission film, everybody's got their own talent. Well, all very talented, but they take bits and pieces from their culture, but it's the combination of the cultures that make them the strongest. That's our political message.
I completely agree, but I do want all the ethnic restaurants.
Of course, food, but food is where, like, that would be your beginning scene. I've always thought, I somebody once asked me about what would you do to save the world, and I said I would have all the mothers from around the world make their favorite dishes, and everybody would sit around the same table and get to eat everyone's mother's favorite dish. And you know what someone said to me? They said, "Oh, so what you're saying is all women should just be in the kitchen cooking?" And I'm like, well, that's not really the point I was trying to make. But if you choose to see it that way, I understand that you've now just given me an extra obstacle to surmount. I mean,
what if a woman wanted to work in a kitchen?
Well, that's, I think that everybody likes to cook. You could say everyone's mother or everyone's father. You can't even say that now because some asshole will be like, well, mothers and fathers are not necessarily defined the way you say it. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's a metaphoric thing. It's a story. Everyone understands the basic concept of a mom cooking their favorite dish, your favorite dish. Everybody's mother has a favorite dish, Why are you going to get the details wrong? Oh, well, you're thinking in that patriarchal white man way. Whatever. I'm like, I'm sorry. I can't tell a story anymore. I get it. I get it. But that's maybe the Warriors would begin that way. That you had like a conclave where these, instead of talking about banding together, maybe it was a cooking contest. The conclave was a food exhibition. We used to have like a bite of Los Angeles. Maybe it's a bite of Brooklyn. And everyone's come out to fix their great meals, and it begins there. I don't know. Sponsored by
I'm not sure we're going to get that box of money.
No, I don't think so.
I do think we should take the scorecards from everybody. Everybody needs to make a score.
I agree. Louis Feliciano says, Kids, the movie Kids from 1995 turns 30 this year. Why is it not available anywhere to watch? Well, Larry Clark's Kids, because we've all become very immature. That's why. America has devolved into a bunch of children that are tribal, and they have no intellectual rigor anymore, and progressivism has become brain dead. There's lots of reasons why. But the thing about Larry Clark's Kids, it was about reality. But we don't like to live in reality anymore. But I think it's coming out. I think somebody's releasing a new version of Kids. I think. I don't know. You know what? That's a good question. Allow me. I thought I saw something about Kids coming out. Let me look. Well, there are Kids discs. You can still get Blu-rays and things like that. It is available on Amazon. Umbrella put it out. Umbrella put Kids out, and you can get it from Umbrella if you want. So there's no 30th anniversary. At least one's not showing up, but maybe it'll come out. But you can get it. It's not unavailable, so that's good. Max, how about the news? Are you ready for the news?
Yeah. I do have one more disc I want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Talk about it. What is it?
Just to recommend it, because it's something I got through Vinegar Syndrome called A Life in Dirty Movies.
Ooh, I like that. A Life in Dirt. No, I did. Wow.
It is a documentary about Joe Sarno.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Who was one of the, probably after Russ Meyer was probably the biggest of the, and it's late in his life. It's a documentary about him trying to get one more movie made. And it really is, and it doesn't, it's all about dirty movies, but it really doesn't have anything to do with dirty movies. It has to do with a creative person trying to stay creative and in the game. And he's got a wife who is incredibly nurturing to him and supportive and enthusiastic. And it's just an incredible documentary. It's a feature, and this is without the slipcover.
Wow, a life in dirty movies.
I would highly
Show us that
recommend-
slipcover. I love Vinegar Syndrome slipcovers are great. They're always printed on that sort of matte finish. Yeah, look at that. What's the back look like?
It says the Sarnos. It says the couple.
Nice.
And it has a lot of clips from his movies, and you might think it's about dirty movies until you realize it's about this couple and this woman who she's just delightful, who supports him, and it resonated with me because I know what it takes to keep going,
Right.
and I just love the fact that he was sitting down and talking to one of his partners, and he's like 70, 72 or something.
Yeah.
And he wants to keep going, and he wants to work some more. And then there's a heartbreaking scene where somebody comes in, a friend who's maybe a kind of trying to do distribution for him, and basically has to sit down and tell him, really isn't a market for this anymore. And there's nothing I can do. I just can't. And you just sit and watch him, and it's soul crushing to see what this guy who has learned how to do this one thing, and nobody wants it anymore. So it's heartbreaking, but it's also uplifting to see how the two people interact.
Yeah. So
anyway, wanted to recommend that. It's kind of outside my mystery noir wheelhouse, but it's something. This is one of the things about Vinegar Syndrome and Severin. You look at a movie and say, looks kind of interesting, so you get it, maybe it sits for a while, but you watch it and it knocks you on your ass. Not every time, but every now and then, one of these movies you knew very little about, wasn't really on your radar, just knocks you on your ass, and then I go like, that's why I like movies.
Yep, 100%. And that's one of the great things about these boutique labels, and both Severin and Vinegar Syndrome specialize in that.
Yeah,
and their
definitely.
Vinegar Syndrome's partner labels as well. I have more to show, but you know what? Why don't I show? You're done showing, right?
Yes.
Okay, I will, because I got more to show. Let me go through those, and then we'll do the news, and then I'll let you go, because So, I did get a stack of Warner Archive titles. New titles. William Holden, Barbara Stanwyck, Frederick March, Walter Pigeons, Shelley Winters, Paul Douglas, and June Allison. Wow.
Executive Suite.
Yes, sir. Executive Suite. Look at that. God bless. And then we've got an MGM Joyous musical in Technicolor. Jane Powell, Elizabeth Taylor, Carmen Miranda, Robert Stack. It's a Date with Judy. There you go. By the way, I did ask George. I said, because I've been trying to find more meaning in what they release, in terms of like, oh, you're releasing these like, that is not true. George dissuaded me of believing this. He's like, look, Rob, it's what's ready to go now. And I'm like, okay, because I was imbuing their releases with meaning, like trying to draw a line between the subject matter and something. But he says it's not like that. It's like we have all these things in various stages of production, and whatever's ready is what we're going to release first. So there you go. Robert Denay and Rosalind Russell in King Vidor's The Citadel. There you go, right?
There, I'm there.
You're going to love this. Robert Mitchum. Jane Russell. His Kind of Woman. Dun, dun, dun.
They made a bunch of movies together. Who's the
I
director?
know, right? Well, this is a John Farrow production. By the way, you know who's in this movie? Vincent Price.
I've seen that movie. It's pretty good.
Yeah, they're not unlike a taut. Oh, listen to what this says. Jeff Andrew from Time Out Film Guide says, not unlike a taut, sadistic thriller peppered with incursions from the Monty Python crew. An unforgettable delight. Come on. Then we got Dorothy McGuire and Robert Young. The Enchanted Cottage. The whole town whispered about these two.
It's a very sweet movie. Very nice movie.
Well, there you go. And then finally, Elia Kazan, Splendid in the Grass. I mean, this is a Stolen classic right here. So, excellent. Still the quintessential film about young love. I mean, of course, this is a star-making performance from Natalie Wood, but Pat Hingle is in this. If you're a Batman fan, there you go. And Warren Beatty, introducing Warren Beatty. His first film, he had Natalie Wood. You know it, that guy. Come on. I'm just saying.
Before that, he was on the Dobie Gillis TV show.
I know, but Natalie Wood. Now, I did get a box from Vinegar Syndrome. I did. And the first thing I got from Vinegar Syndrome was, of course, I had to have it because it's William Friedkin. I got Jade that you showed last week, which is fine, but I won't get into it because you already showed it. Now, I did get this. I did get The Golden Child. Now, this is Charles Dance. This is a beautiful release. The metal clasping cover, the beautiful. Everything about these Vinegar Syndrome releases is great. But here's the thing. Do you know what's not great about this Vinegar Syndrome release? I got to tell you. The transfer is incredible. But I'll tell you what's not great about this Vinegar Syndrome release. The Golden Child sucks. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. This is a textbook example of why you don't buy the box. You buy the movie.
I got to tell you something. Do you know why? I saw this movie once in my life. And the only thing I remember about the movie that I loved is there's like these spinning columns that have, and Eddie Murphy, like he's a DJ, goes, I want the knife. That's all I remembered from the movie. This movie is not good.
No.
You want it to be Big Trouble in Little China. It's not that. And I sat down. Michael Ritchie directed this. Like, smile, Michael Ritchie.
Yeah.
I looked at this and I watched this. This movie isn't good on any level. And at the beginning, it's got this you see Charles Dance. You see Tywin Lannister going across the snowy reaches of Tibet to get to this temple where the Golden Child is, and even that, compared to everything we've seen now, it's kind of lackluster. And then they go in to steal the kid, and the fight scene's a little lackluster, and they've got this little thing they're going to carry him on, and it's just... I wanted this to be... You know what this is? It's like the Goonies. It's not good.
Yeah.
It's just not a good movie. Now, kudos to Vinegar Syndrome, because this movie has been given the transfer's great, everything. If you like this movie, God bless you, I will not judge you. The only judgment I ever give on anyone is if they like Star Trek Discovery. That's it. But this is just not. It's not good. I will be probably trading it in. It's not good.
Lipstick on a pig.
The other thing I got, however, actually is Dirty Work.
Oh, I love this movie. I've seen this. I have that.
Bro. Now, not only had I not seen this movie, I didn't know the story behind it, and they put out a great video on the restoration of what they've done. This movie is insane.
I love that movie.
The story behind it and the director's cut, the restoration work they did on this. This is what Vinegar Syndrome does best. And again, I mean, the packaging on it, the books, Norm Macdonald, all the restoration work they did on this. Revenge is sweet and surprisingly affordable. This is a banger of a release. This is why physical media exists. Did you get this disc?
Absolutely. I've got the box set, and I'm a huge Norm Macdonald fan.
Me too.
This is the ultimate for a Norm Macdonald fan.
This is incredible, and in terms of the restoration of a movie and the story of they went back, the went and got the preview, the dirtier version they had. It's incredible what they did for this film.
It's hilarious, and I must say, note to self: sex with doll not as advertised.
Yeah. Now, the last thing that I got was somebody told me that I had to buy this disc. I knew nothing about this movie. I have not watched it, but they told me that I had to get Devil Doll. And to be honest, I don't know anything about this. And it comes with Curse of the Voodoo. Is the voodoo a thing? I know nothing about this movie. Somebody said, Rob, you have to get Devil Doll. And I got Devil Fetus. Big thumbs up on Devil Fetus from Vinegar Syndrome. Now I have Devil Doll as well. So, Curse of the Voodoo and Devil Doll. I don't know anything about this, but I own it now. Does that make me a better person? Can't tell you. Dirty Work makes me a better person. This is something everybody should own, I think. And the restoration that went into restoring the preview cut of all that is amazing. Jade, we talked about it, but
there's a 4. I haven't watched the shit with my son because we thought we'd wait a little bit, but there's like a 2-hour version of it on there.
Oh, it's amazing. What they did on this. It was a labor of love. These insane people at Vinegar Syndrome. There's a great YouTube video where they talk about all the restoration and what they put into it. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. So that was what I got this week. I have a lot of stuff coming, but that's what I got this week. So I'm done showing what I got. Let's get into the news. Now, the first thing, our favorite company, Second Sight, announced these bangers. The Pusher trilogy in 4K. They have previously released Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive with Ryan Gosling. So that disc is incredible. Their big box set sold out very quickly. But this is before Nicholas Winding Refn became a little insufferable. And if you have not watched his interview with William Friedkin, you really should. But this is his Pusher trilogy. It's 3 movies. Pusher was 1996, Pusher 2 was 2004, and Pusher 3 was 2005. These are new 4K restorations of all 3 films, and he does commentary on all of them with the main stars of each. And there's a whole, there's documentaries, there's all kinds of stuff. This is an amazing release. Again, 120-page book. It's what you'd expect from Vinegar Syndrome. It's a really cool release. Very excited to get that. And following that up is Ty West's The Innkeepers. I didn't love this movie, and I want to buy everything that Second Sight puts out. I don't know if I'm going to buy this. I didn't buy their Ginger Snaps trilogy, but this is a 4K restoration, and it's 4K and Blu-ray, and this is The Innkeepers from 2011. And 2 employees at a rundown inn are desperate to prove the building is haunted before it gets closed down. But again, Second Sight, their transfers are second to none, and Ty West and Larry Fessenden participate in this. So if you want to get that, hey, another great release from Second Sight, which is amazing. And then we come to, there's one more thing I forgot. Casper, the Friendly Ghost, 4K Steelbook, a 30th anniversary release. It's been 30 years since this movie came out. I'm going to die soon. Somebody on the member call yesterday said I shouldn't joke about my impending death because he just turned 60. Anyway, I think it's just kind of amusing to always remind myself that I'm to shuffle off this mortal coil. But the fact that Casper, the Friendly Ghost, is 30 years old makes me feel old. Max, I don't even want to ask you what that makes you feel, but are you going to buy Casper, the Friendly Ghost?
No, and I think it's kind of amusing how you young children think you're old.
I know, right? I'm not going to buy this either. But let's jump in to Criterion's, oh my God, Criterion's September releases. Max, Akira Kurosawa, just in time for Spike Lee's remake of this. We talked about Ed McBain last week.
Yes, we did.
High and Low.
Absolutely.
One of the great Kurosawa movies, contemporary at the time it was made. And Max, tell us give us a little High and Low background.
Well, it's based on a book called King's Ransom by Ed McBain, who also wrote as Evan Hunter. Neither one was his real name, and it's an Italian name I don't recall right now. But there was a TV show with Robert Lansing. We talked about that last week. Robert Lansing, Gary Seven from Star Trek. And this is a story about, well, the premise is really great and I assume it's going to be the same in the Spike Lee version. But a child thought to be the child of a very rich man is kidnapped, but it isn't him. It isn't the kid. And so the rich man has to decide whether to pay the ransom for a child that isn't his own. That's a wonderful moral dilemma to drop in the middle of a story. And then it's surrounded by the police procedural, which is beautifully done. I think it's one of my favorite. It may be my favorite one next to The Seventh Samurai.
It's a great film, coming out in 4K, terrific, and Spike Lee has remade it with Denzel Washington in the lead role. Can't wait to see it. It's got some great notices in Cannes. One of my most eagerly awaited films. I think it's coming out this summer. Can't wait to see it. Following that up, because the sequel's coming out, I can't believe there's a sequel. A movie, probably a 4K disc that will take you to 11. This is Spinal Tap. Coming out in 4K. Criterion has obviously released this long ago before, but now we're getting it in 4K. Very excited. If you're a drummer, this must be your favorite movie because you can always replace a drummer, right? And then we've got The Beat My Heart Skipped. And The Beat My Heart Skipped is the riveting character study in the guise of gritty underworld thriller. Jacques Audiard, international breakthrough feature, feels an explosive performance by Roman Duris as a real estate broker torn between the dirty dealings of his slumlord father and his recently rekindled love for classical piano. Only the French, man. And they're going to follow that up with another release from the same filmmaker, Read My Lips. No new tax. Oh, wait, no, that's something else. This is another film from the same director, but it's a new 4K restoration. Two outcasts are drawn together by crime and passion in this early tour de force from director Jacques Audiard. And there you go. And that's coming out. So then this is another banger. Nominated for Academy Award, the independently produced animated film Flow. Flow. A thrilling tale of friendship and survival that took indie animation to ecstatic new heights of ambition and imagination. This Academy Award winning. It won. The international sensation follows the courageous cat after its home is devastated after a great flood. And there you go. And that's why there's capybara cafes in Japan, because of this movie. I'll probably not, but I'm convinced that that's the truth. And then we have, coming from Criterion in 4K, Born in Flames by Lizzie Borden, a blistering rallying cry issued loud and clear and unapologetically queer. Lizzie Borden's explosive post-punk provocation is a do-it-yourself fantasia of female rebellion set in America 10 years after a revolution that supposedly transformed the country into a democratic, socialist utopia. By the way, there's no such thing. In reality, racism, sexism, and economic inequality are as virulent as ever, and a band of radicals led by black, lesbian, and working-class women join forces to fight back. Told through a furiously fractured, kinetically edited flurry of television news broadcasts, pirate radio transmissions, agitprop, and protests shot guerrilla style in the streets of New York City, Born in Flames is a shockwave of feminist futurism that's both an essential document of its time and radically ahead of it. Well, Max, I would say that's because this movie was made before there was OnlyFans. There will be no revolution because they can't make any money. Oh, wait, what? Anyway, let's see what's coming next. A Hero Never Dies, Max. A Hero Never Dies is coming out. Chameleon Films from Australia, a newcomer on the scene. Chameleon Films is releasing a special edition Blu-ray of Johnny To's A Hero Never Dies from 1998, starring Leon Lai, Sweat Lamb, Chinhua Lao. I can't even release all of these, but it's coming on the market later this year. Now, play that song, Sukiyaki. Jack and Martin are gunmen who work for two rival kingpins. Jack and Martin have been fighting on their boss's behalf for close to a year. When a truce is made, both Jack and Martin are cut loose. The two men then decide to join forces and take on the gangsters who used them. Sounds great. Then there's Are you in? I'm in too. Then there's, of course, The Two Jakes, coming from Kino Lorber, with commentary by Max Allan Collins, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming from Kino Lorber as they raid Paramount's library even further. Then here we have Rounding. Music Box is putting this out in association with Doppelganger Releasing, no relation to the Jerry Anderson movie of the same name. This came out in 2022, and it's about after a traumatic incident, a driven young medical resident transfers to a rural hospital for a fresh start, but the demons of his past start to catch up to him when he is consumed by the case of a patient with mysterious symptoms. Dun, dun, dun. So that's coming out. Don't know anything about it, but hey, it's coming. And then there's this. Oh my God. Give it up for Severin. Box number 4. I love this series. Everything in this particular series is in 4K. I think you can get a Blu-ray box if you want it, but it is in 4K. And let me just tell you, the covers alone of these, I mean, look at this. Terror Creatures from the Grave. Terror Creatures from the Grave. After decades of murky transfers and cut prints, this scary, at the Mansion of Madness, impressive, says Rock Shock Pop, and haunting, it's a favorite starring the queen of Italian horror, Barbara Steele. Amen. Comes to UHD for the first time ever, deep within the cursed villa of a dead spiritualist. The legacy of the Black Plague will unleash a torrent of madness, murder, and vengeance of the undead. That's all I need to know. That's only number 1 in this, and the cover is just, come on. Night of the Damned. That looks like half the dates I had in college. Night of the Damned, one of the most obscure and badly bootlegged shockers of the Italian Gothic genre, is now restored uncut and uncensored in UHD for the first time when a mystery-solving journalist and his wife are summoned to the creepy castle of a dying friend. They find themselves trapped in a nightmare of ancestral curses, modern witchcraft, and demonic sapphic carnage, which means, to me, hot lesbian action, much of which proved too extreme even for Italian censors. I mean, come on, look at that cover, and knowing that there's sapphic action, what's not to love? Apparently, not for men to love women, but okay. Then we've got The Devil's Wedding Night. I told you these covers just keep getting better, Max. I mean, come on. From 1973, an over-the-top performance by co-writer and star Mark Damon in a dual role, a career best Rosabella Neary from Lady Frankenstein as a bisexual vampire queen. That is music to my ears. Lurid direction by Luigi Bozzella with startling imagery by cinematographer, second unit director Joe D'Amato. A truly trippy cult favorite with a bounty of babes and blood in 4K for the first time ever. I mean, Max, you'd watch that, wouldn't you?
I'm in.
You'd watch it with your wife, wouldn't you?
No.
Oh, well, that's too bad. Well, and then finally, Baba Yaga. This is actually part of the John Wick universe, and if you believe that, you're not paying attention. This is from 1973. It's been called achingly beautiful, twisted and trippy, an unforgettable, joyous ride, says the Sex Gore Mutants. Now the gothic, erotic classic from film director Corrado Farina, based on the S&M Fumetto by Guido Carapax, is presented in 4K for the first time ever. Academy Award nominee Carol Baker from Baby Doll and Orgasmo stars as the titular witch who seduces a swinging photographer into a maelstrom of sexual obsession. This is great. Sexual obsession, pop art perversity, and some of the most uniquely unnerving images of the entire genre. Come on, Max. Who doesn't want to buy this new, completely awesome box set, Danza Macabre, Volume 4. Max, are you going to get this box? Will you be buying this? And will you unapologetically love all these movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
I may apologize, but I'm going to get it.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, I would expect nothing less. Then we come to Neither the Sea Nor the Sand, coming into us from 88 Films. This is an upcoming Blu-ray release, and I don't know much about it. I don't know if I've ever heard of this movie, but it's from 88 Films, which means it's interesting. It's written by TV's Gordon Honeycomb, pardon me, Mr. and Mrs. When troubled Anna comes to Jersey in an attempt to bring some meaning to her life, she finds herself falling in love with a man called Hugh, much to his brother's repugnance. The pair flee to Scotland, but when Hugh suddenly dies, Anna is left distraught. However, things get more complicated when Hugh appears to return from the grave. Hey, there you go. What's not to love? Bring it on. And then we've got King of Kings. The animated King of Kings is what you know it is and what you think it is. It did well in the theaters. And then we've got from Kino Cult in 3D Cinerama, Frankenstein's Bloody Terror. Frankenstein's Bloody Terror. This is, of course, Enrique Lopez I can't pronounce his last name. And you know what? I don't even want to try it. Esquilos. Frankenstein's Bloody Terror, starring Paul Naschy. There you go. And Carlos Castrovilla. And it comes out on August 26th. And this is a new restoration. It's got new audio commentaries, and it's in 3D. Max, do you know this movie? I don't know this movie, but
I do not know the movie, but I'm going to because I do love my 3D horror movies.
I know, right? You got to get them.
Got to get them.
And then we've got, if you didn't get that big, ridiculous box set, you get the Steelbook of the Never-Ending Story, which is fine. And then we have coming out, we have Furious Swords and Fantastic Warriors, the heroic cinema of Chang Chen. Or Chang, yeah, it's Chang Chen, right? Mm-hmm. That's very exciting. So, hey, what's not to love there? Why not get it? More Shaw Brothers movies, more Chinese action. I'm all in. And then we've got didn't you talk about this Rack and Ruin, the rubble film of Difa?
No, we did talk about the science fiction stuff, but this looks very interesting to me. I think I probably will get this.
Yeah, I mean, this is really interesting. It's all crime movies from, that era, the DIFA. These are the films made by DIFA Studios in East Germany after 1962. And this comes from Eureka, so it's probably going to be great. Actually, these were all Eureka films, by the way. And the movies in the set are The Murders Are Among Us, Somewhere in Berlin, Police Raid, Marriage in the Shadows, and the final one, The Blum Affair. So, Eureka always does a great job. By the way, Eureka is also putting out this, and also they are putting out The Flaming Brothers. So, Eureka always does a great job with these foreign films, and the DIFA stuff, if it's anything like their box set of the sci-fi films, amazing. Then we have Kino Lorber is putting out the comedy Repossessed, another parody, genre parody with Linda Blair, Ned Beatty, and Leslie Nielsen. And then we've got a good one coming out from, speaking of Bill Lustig, from Blue Underground, Raw Meat. Pretty amazing. I mean, I've seen this kind of a science fiction film. Lionsgate Limited is putting out Daybreakers and Jacob's Ladder in 4K, which I love. I'm writing an article on both for the Lionsgate Limited website. There's a movie called The Sewers of Paris. Are there sewers of Paris? But apparently there are. That's what this movie is about, which is relatively exciting. Then we got from BFI, Women in Love. This is one of my favorite crazy directors, Ken Russell's film Women in Love, based on D.H. Lawrence's work. I love this movie. Great to get it from BFI in 4K. This is from the late 60s. Good stuff. We've got Man on a Wire, the documentary, being re-released on Blu-ray. Thunderbolts coming out in 4K. Yes. Primary Colors about Bill Clinton coming out from Shout Select. Huckleberry Finn with Jackie Coogan and Mitzi Green coming out. And then we've got, this is pretty great, the 10-year anniversary of Straight Outta Compton. 2 different versions, including the Director's Limited Edition. We've got Girl from the North Country, based on a play, coming out. Don't know much about it, but it won the Tony Award. Happy Gilmore Max coming out in 4K. And then, of course, speaking of which, Meet the Parents, an anniversary release, because the 4th one is coming out, so they're putting that out in 4K. Here's something interesting. The Buster Keaton Show, 9 digitally restored episode and bonus extras. Do you know anything about the Buster Keaton Show?
I do not. I mean, it looks pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I'll get it. Now, this looks incredible. Takashi Ishii, he was a manga artist and was adapting his films, Four Tales of Nami. If you look at the different films in this set, there's a trailer out for this. Third Window Films from the UK is putting this out. Alone in the Night, Angel Guts, A Night in Nude, and Original Sin. These are films from the 80s and 90s. I looked at the trailer. If you look at the trailer for this, it looks incredible. Then, of course, Strangers with Candy. Amy Sedaris is in that. And then that's from Shout Select. And bringing up the rear, the Coneheads. Max, I'm going to turn it over to you for a couple minutes. Opine on what we saw just now.
Well, I would say that the Criterion releases are the most Criterion-ish I ever saw. I mean, only they would have released that batch of films. And God bless them for it. I'm glad they do stick with, something like High and Low, which is maybe a little bit more predictable release. I do think this bunch of releases really speaks to what you can get from the boutiques, the Asian cinema, the Asian cult cinema, I guess. I used to be a movie reviewer for the late lamented magazine Asian Cult Cinema. And I would say, we got the horror stuff, the 3D. I didn't even know that movie existed. And I'm just sitting there watching Rob spend my money. I've got to get the Eureka box of the DIFA crime films. The thing about that is those boxes that Eureka does are physically beautiful. They're solid and they're just really artistically put together. And I'm really finding myself more and more really liking to get box sets because they tend to be very well packaged, at least by these boutique publishers. This is all good stuff. This is all good stuff.
It's all eclectic. I mean, as we move toward, it can't all be A-list banger titles that everybody knows.
No, but again, the Criterion stuff is at the most Criterion-ish I ever saw.
Yeah, it's totally.
Only them. Only they would do that. And God bless them.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that leaves us, I want to make sure that let's see, there's a lot of people, people have been writing in. Yes, Paul Allen Bernotto, I always say it's Bernotto, wrote a letter in, and I'm going to read it to end the show. Yes, don't worry, I haven't forgotten you. Big Disc Energy says, Sarno's masterpiece, Red Roses of Passion, needs a reprint. Blackadder Not I says, I live near Scarborough, UK, where Charles Laughton was born. He was a better hunchback than Lon Chaney, and I believe he only directed the one film. Yeah, Night of the Hunter.
Right.
Tom Jr. Jackson says, tell us about the dead hookers in your trunk, Rob. No. I don't have any. I processed them all, and people ate them in their hamburgers. There's no dead hookers in my trunk. I would not leave that meat to ferment. I mean, everything was, I sold the organs. People had cornea transplants. That's why I killed them in the first place. That's how do I live in a house? Dead hookers in the trunk. They were only there and by the way, all on ice. Just saying. Big Disc Energy says, God bless America. All right. Thomas Logan says Drive is the best film of the 2010s. Should have won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Supporting Actor. And how about the Chromatic soundtrack? Come on. Got to remember that, too. And let's see. Other than that, let me just make sure. I want to update and make sure we're not missing anyone's chats or tips. Oh, here's a good one. Stubble McShave says, for both Rob and Max, what did you think of the Ipcris file? And why weren't the Harry Palmer movies more of a success? I love Billion Dollar Brain. That's a good question, Max. What do you think of the Harry Palmer movies?
I love them. It's one of my favorites. Ipcris File is a terrific movie, and there's a nice box set of those.
There is. I have it. I got it from Australia.
Yeah, and I think the second movie is fine, and I like the third movie very much. It's a Ken Russell directed film.
Yep.
And it's got an incredible score, and it just looks great. All three of them are great. They're very underrated. I do not know, since obviously Michael Caine immediately became a movie star out of Ipcris Files and it's the other famous movie. But I don't know why they didn't do well. I mean, I think people just wanted the fantasy of James Bond.
Right.
I completely understand.
Although I really like Billion Dollar Brain.
It's one of my favorites. And I saw that in the theater, which was tough because it didn't get much distribution.
No. And it was hard to get on home video for a while, too.
Yeah.
My friend Alan Spencer, who created Sledgehammer, gave me the first version of Billion Dollar Brain that I owned.
Yeah, it's a terrific movie. I mean, it is one of those movies where the hero doesn't accomplish much, and if you're except to survive. But I kind of like those movies.
Yeah. So, we don't have to read the live chat.
Dieter sent him over to me, Rob.
Oh, he did?
No.
Oh, okay, good. Because I was going to be like, he would do something like that. He's very studious. But he'll have a live chat to read.
I want to say thank you to Dieter for all you do on the show, and thank you for Rob for putting up with me here. I really love the chemistry you two guys have, and we'll be there. And I'm glad we have maybe a little slice of the show.
Well, we're not quite done yet, Max.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I know we've been 3 hours. We're at 3 hours now. You've been a trooper, but I got to ask you. It is the 50th anniversary weekend of the release of Jaws, the first summer blockbuster. Can you give us some wise pearls? What was it like for you to see Jaws for the first time?
It was pretty amazing, and in fact, it was one of those movies where Barbara and I would take friends of ours basically to watch them at some of the dramatic moments, and just see how many people came out of their seats. I mean, it was absolutely amazing, and of course, movies went in a whole different direction after Jaws. But it was an incredible experience, and I have not shown my grandson that movie yet, but it's on the short list. Really think about how much has flown from that movie. John Williams, I mean, it's Spielberg's incredible career, and at the time, he almost got fired off of it.
Yeah, and I remember in Laurent Bozzereau's Laserdisc documentary, David Brown is talking about. He told Spielberg, just keep shooting, no matter what happens. Just keep shooting. And Richard Dreyfuss tells the story about where they were shooting. They would have everything set up. They'd be pointing in a direction. Then suddenly a boat would come up at the very edge of the frame, and they would have to wait until the boat crossed the entire horizon to keep. I mean, what a nightmare production. I was supposed to be in Martha's Vineyard this weekend. Charlie de Lauzirika, my friend Horace Austin, they're there. They're celebrating. They showed Godzilla. They showed Jaws last night outside where it was shot. Big events at my grocery store. They have Jaws wine that was made by the Coppola Vineyard. They've got like sparkling wine in a clear glass, and then they've got the red wine and white wine, the 3 Jaws wines you can buy. I was 8 years old when Jaws came out, and I did not get to see it until February. It opened June 20th, 1975. I did not get to see it until February, but I saw it in a theater at the Coliseum Theater in downtown Seattle. It was still playing because movies would play forever, and Jaws, played forever. And I went and saw it. My friend Jeff Swafford, that we shared a backyard. He was my best friend from the time I was 2 years old. It was his birthday, and I think he was turning 9. And that's when I saw Jaws. I saw it at the Coliseum Theater. I'm going to call him up. And that's when I saw Jaws for the very first time.
Is it fair to say it was the first real blockbuster?
Summer blockbuster. I mean, there had been blockbuster movies. I mean, the James Goldfinger would play 24 hours and around the clock.
Yeah.
But it was the first big summer blockbuster that was targeted, that sort of changed. I mean, Exorcist was a big blockbuster. Godfather was a big hit. But in terms of the summer blockbuster, Jaws was really the first. June 20th, 1975. It set the tone. And I think in releasing in summer was smart. You say Barracuda, Max. People say, huh? What? You say shark. And you've got a panic on your hand on the 4th of July. I mean, Murray Hamilton as the mayor. Sid Sheinberg's wife, Lorraine Gary, as Mrs. Brody. I think it was Sid Sheinberg's wife, right? Literally the head of the studio gets his wife in. But she was great. She was great as Mrs. Brody. And then you've got, of course, the Kittner boy. Still on the, he's going to spill out all over the sidewalk. Anyway, I got a letter to read from our own Paul Allen Bernardo. And, everybody gives me pictures, and I didn't realize that his letter had pictures. Let me just quickly incorporate, because I'm sure these pictures, these visual representations are going to be incorporated into his letter. I will throw these in as I get them here. Let me put them into the show. Oops, and of course I just closed his mail, but I didn't realize I have to. Yeah, there is production work that goes into these shows, like all the different news stuff. I have to go take stills of all that stuff, and even what you gave me things to download and look at. So I do try. It isn't just, it might seem haphazard and off the cuff, but yeah, lots of production and planning goes into these shows. I'm sure you believe me when I say that, but it's true. Hang on, let me just get a hand and get Paul's letter up again so I can read it. Okay, now I'm back to where I want to be. Now let me just put his. I'll put the pictures up when the. Anyway, I'll start reading his letter because for whatever reason, the computer is not responding. Wirecast isn't responding. Let me just shut this down and maybe I will get this.
We can edit all of this in post, Rob.
Yeah, we'll do it in post. I mean, this is what live YouTube broadcast is all about. I don't know what's going on, but I'll read his letter. And finally, if it finally responds. So here it is. Oh, no, here we go. Here we go. I've got his pictures. Just took a while for the computer to get up to snuff. So this is from Paul. As us film lovers celebrate the 50th anniversary of Jaws, the first summer blockbuster, this week there are so many articles and videos talking about the legacy and how this movie really stands the test of time. I thought, why not share a personal story and the impact it had on me? And just like I was, Paul says, I'm 8 years old, and my dad, older sister, and older brother drive to the Westco Theater in West Covina, California. Here it is. California at the time had a single 70 millimeter screen. And my father, not knowing the instant huge word of mouth that caught fire around Jaws on opening weekend, there was a labyrinth of people around the block, and all the shows for the day were sold out. My pop said, "You kids got a choice. Come back here tomorrow or see it at the drive-in tonight." I don't think that's what his father sounded like. I just thought I'd read it in that voice. We all yelled, "Drive in! Drive in!" So off we went to the local Vineland Drive-In Theater in La Puente. And there it is. The Drive-In Theater in La Puente. And what an experience we all had as a family. It's a vivid movie memory that I cherish to this day. Even though I was 8 years old watching Dad on TV and seeing the Sugarland Express at the same drive-in a few years back, I already knew Steven Spielberg's work and how good of a director he truly is. Until next week's Summer of 1975 movie that I'll highlight, catch you later. Paul Allen Brunato. Paul, great friend of the channel. That is great. That is a great remembrance. I love hearing that. And by the way, while I was reading that, the Cali Kid writes in and says, can you ask Mr. Collins? Well, you're going to ask him right here. This is what the Cali Kid says. Mr. Collins, what does it take to make a living as a writer? Max, over to you, son.
I'll let you know when I figure that out.
Perseverance.
Well, I'll tell you what, just to put it in perspective, a couple of things. One is the great mystery writer Donald. I would say it's fair to say I'm a cult author. Would you say that's fair, Rob?
Yeah, I would say that.
And
I mean, you're a cult author. You're a cult author that dabbles in the mainstream.
And Donald Westlake said to me, he said, a cult author is 7 readers short of making a living. And, so that's the other problem I have when somebody comes to me for writing advice. And they say to me, for example, how do I get an agent? And I say, well, I can tell you how I got mine in 1972, and my workshop, my Iowa Writers Workshop instructor believed in me, so I wrote a letter to an agent that he knew, and the agent came back, and you've heard me say this before, Rob. The agent came back and said, I'm going to take Mr. Collins on, but he needs to be warned. He's a blacksmith in an automotive age.
Wow.
I think about that every day, and I am definitely a blacksmith in an automotive age. But the other thing I would say is persevere, and try to get somebody else to give you money for publishing your stuff, not just self-publish. I'm not putting self-publishing down. If you want to make a living, you've got to find out how to do that. Connect with editors, and that's tough because they won't look at anything if it's through an agent. So all of that stuff was around when I started. You just have to navigate those waters. You have to want it really, really bad, and that still doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yeah, well, look, speaking of professional writers who have cult status, I've kept you here for 3 hours on an unpaid show because I believe in exploiting your time and making myself look better by having such an esteemed member of the writing community on this show.
Wait a minute. Unpaid?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Let's Get Physical Media. Yeah, you're rich in personality.
Yeah. It doesn't keep me out of the breadline.
Well, Max, thank you for being on the show today. This George Feltenstein Jaws extravaganza. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in and generously supporting this channel via super chats and tips and memberships. And we had a great member call yesterday. There's a few people that hadn't been in our member calls before. You can become a member of this channel for 99 cents a month if you want. You know who wasn't in the member call yesterday was Castle Grayskull. And I missed her. Because she's a delight. And she's been in the chat today. So I missed you, Grace. I missed you. I want to thank Max Allan Collins for doing a wonderful job succeeding, Dieter, but not replacing him.
I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to try. I adore Dieter and what he brings to the show, and I hope I've made that clear.
Absolutely. And I want to thank people like Lord Toth. I want to thank Tom Jr. Jackson, our great moderating staff, Darth Plato. I want to thank everybody for celebrating things. I want to thank Kino Lorber for always sending me discs. I want to thank Lisa Stevenson at Lionsgate for letting me write articles. You know, I want to thank George Feltenstein and everybody at Warner Archive for setting a tone for cinema history that is unparalleled. I want to thank Second Sight for being Second Sight. I want to thank Bill Lustig's Blue Underground for supporting physical media for years and years and years. Just I want to thank everybody. We're happy to have you all here. We're happy to have you. Vinegar Syndrome doing a pop-up in LA. Look it up. I think it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Beginning tomorrow. So they're going to sell their wares here. That they're doing a pop-up is really cool. I don't know much more about it other than that. I saw it online, so check that out. Max, when is people can get the new Quarry? It's already out. You can get the new, oh, wait a minute. One of the things that I did not bring up is, we didn't talk about Never Say Never Again, which I apologize for, but your Mickey Spillane novel, the concluding Mike Hammer novel, that obviously Matthew McConaughey is going to be playing Mike Hammer in the movie version, but you've written the last Mike Hammer novel, Baby It's Murder, and that's pretty exciting. You can get that now. You can also buy the last Quarry novel, Quarry's Return. You can find Blue Christmas on Blu-ray, which is another movie that Max directed. You've got Death by Fruitcake, which is now going on the festival circuit. And Max, you also have The Return of the Maltese Falcon coming out in January of 2026.
Yeah, it's written and it's done, and I'm really proud of it. And I think people, if you like either the book or the movie, you're going to have fun with this. It's a direct sequel. It's being done by Hard Case Crime, who I do a lot of my work for, and that's Titan as well. And never been a sequel to that story. Now there is one.
And we will have a panel at the San Diego Comic-Con on Friday where I will be interviewing you about your life and career. And I will have posters that are from the posters of last year's Comic-Con exclusive posters. We'll have a few of those that you can sign to give away. I don't even think you have one.
I don't have.
I will get you. You will have one. And so come to our panel out there, and you can meet Max. And we'll after the panel we'll go out and get you hammered, and we can hang out with the folks because that was fun. Major Chai and the whole gang will be there. It'll be a great time.
I'll be Mike hammered.
You'll be Mike hammered. Yes, you will. Now, will your son Nathan and your grandson and your wife be there as well?
My 9-year-old grandson does not drink.
That's too
but
bad.
otherwise, possibly that could happen.
All right. I'll make sure that Dieter Bastian is nowhere around, so your wife isn't tempted.
I know.
So,
yeah,
Max, you're a trooper. 3 hours and 15 minutes. Wow.
Well, our panel is scheduled for 5 hours. Just so.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Well, I want to thank you for being here. This is a great episode of Let's Get Physical Media. Everybody, give it up. Max Allan Collins, ladies and gentlemen. And I made him talk. He's going to have to go to bed for 2 weeks now. So, there you go.
Nobody commented on my Famine of the Paradise T-shirt.
Oh, well, hang on. Well, you know what? They can't see it because it's been cut off. No one could actually stand up. Let's see that.
Yes, one of my very favorite movies, Famine of Paradise.
Wow, look at that. Yeah, there we go. Nice.
Is that cool?
That's really. Where'd you get that?
I have no memory of when I got it, but
Wow.
it's been in recent years. Something I spotted on on the internet because I'm a huge, as is my sometime partner Terry Beatty, huge fan of that movie. It's in my top 2 or 3 movies.
Great Brian De Palma. That needs a 4K release.
Oh, doesn't it?
It really does. It needs a 4K release. Well, Max, on that note, I'm going to say to everyone, every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. And with that, we tell everybody, go buy some more physical media. Go buy Max's work. You can get the all 19 Nathan Heller novels. You can get the Corey novels. You can get the Mickey Spillane, Mike Hammer novels. You can get all of his movie novelizations. Max, what is the most obscure? Did you write the Predator movie novelization?
I think the most obscure I did was I Love Trouble.
Really?
Yes, which was the only movie novelization.
Was that like Nick Nolte?
Yeah, and I think Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
And a movie I pretty much hated. And it, and it's the only novelization I put a pseudonym on.
What's your favorite novelization you've written?
I would say, because it sold so well, if nothing else, Saving Private Ryan. I will say, people who are trying to collect my novels, you need the 6th printing of Dick Tracy to get the entire book, because I was censored.
You mean the movie novelization?
The movie novelization.
So you have to find the 6th printing of the movie novelization before it was uncensored. Did Warren Beatty censor you?
Well, Warren Beatty and Walt Disney did not want it revealed that the villain, the surprise villain, was the Madonna character. And so I wrote the best-selling mystery novel ever written that was published without the reveal of who the murderer was.
Wow.
And I wasn't happy. I was not happy.
Well, I can understand that. And on that note, see, Max has stories within stories within stories. And that's what we want. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for being on members or even watching the show. Max, thank you for being on the show. Let's Get Physical Media, episode 204 will be here next week. I would assume Dieter Bastian will be back with one of the longest live chats ever. Recaps. So, on that note, okay, we are out.
Are we